Chapter 17-18. Don't worry. I won't let him get away with it. Jiang Tian stared at the most central, most magnificent, and tallest palace-like fortress in the academy. Layer after layer of talisman formations were inscribed on the walls and pillars of this fort, and the fluctuations of dermic energy were extremely strong. Moreover, the decorations were comparatively luxurious, and it wasn't as simple and natural as the other forts. Obviously, a great figure resided within it. He was sure that it was the Divine Prince who was half a step away from the soul formation level. Jiang Tian took a step in the air and flew towards the fortress at a seemingly slow speed. The remaining nascent soul and golden cores were not enough for the purple-golden true dragon, so Jiang Tian didn't want to kill anymore. I'm the Divine Prince of the Beihan sect, Qianlong Kong Teichu. You're very talented. My Zongzi, Han Ming, cherishes talents the most. If you're willing to surrender, I'm willing to introduce you. I promise I won't punish you for what you did today. The Divine Prince in the fortress sensed Jiang Tian's energy and immediately sent out a message with his immortal will. Hee, I'm here to kill. Not to be a dog of the Beihan sect. Jiang Tian refused with a smile and approached him at a steady pace. Are you worried that I'll go back on my words and Han Ming will punish you? Chen Long said with a hint of disdain. The cultivators you killed on Earth are just puppets that we've cultivated. They're not worth mentioning. It's okay to kill them. Han Ming doesn't care about their lives at all. Han Ming Zongzi is nothing. In my eyes, you're worse than a dog. Jiang Tian said with disdain. Cut the crap. I'll kill you today to avenge Master Qing Mu and the cultivators of Langya. Kong Teichu, how dare you disrespect Han Ming? Divine Prince Qianlong roared with murderous intent. In his mind, Han Ming was a divine soul formation stage cultivator with unparalleled talents and wisdom. He was truly like a saint. He had seen Han Ming conquer many planet regions and star oceans. Killing normal divine soul formation stage cultivators was as easy as chopping vegetables. He was always invincible. Whether it was the sect masters of the divine sects or the masters of the star field, they all treated him with respect and did not dare to offend him. Even in the entire Mizar star system, or even the Big Dipper star system, Han Ming Zongzi had a pivotal position. This kid, a mere cultivator from a remote planet, actually dared to be disrespectful to Han Ming. He deserved to be hacked into pieces. So what if he was the #1 person on Earth? In the vast Big Dipper constellation, he had seen many such geniuses and had even killed many of them. Kong Teichu, who do you think you are? Do you think you can kill me? Chen Long shouted and released his aura. Rumble. The world shook and the energy of a quasi-divine lord was launched towards Jiang Tian. In a blink, the essence qi in the world boiled like an ocean and the true essence was like waves hitting the shore. All kinds of Dharma laws were extremely condensed and vast. Suddenly, the disciples of Langyi Academy who were chasing after him stopped in their tracks, and they were sent flying backwards like wood shavings. Many of them knelt on the ground and their bones cracked, as if they were about to be crushed into meat paste in the next second. Is this the power of a half-step soul formation cultivator? No wonder Master Qing Mu was killed by him with one slap. Countless people were shocked. Divine Prince Qianlong rarely showed up. They had never met him, let alone fought with him. They had never thought that a quasi-divine lord could be so terrifying. Many disciples of the Langyi Academy who had been confident in Jiang Tian suddenly felt uneasy and worried about Jiang Tian. Will Senior Taichu be a match for him? At that moment, everyone stopped what they were doing. Qianlong's subordinates also looked at the two in the sky, because they knew that the two in the sky were the ones who would decide their fate. If either side won, how could the followers of the other side escape death? They could just kill them. Kong Teichu, you deserve to die. Boom. Chen Long stood on an ice chariot and rushed out of the palace. He was wearing a heavy armor made of dark iron and was surrounded by the ice Dharma laws. It was so cold that it froze the air. The ice chariot was like an ice sculpture. It was covered with all kinds of patterns and was pulled by 4 nascent soul giant ice bears. Chen Long's every word shook the void and froze the space. Even the mountain peak cracked. All kinds of green plants were instantly covered in ice crystals and lost their vitality. They were like ice sculptures. Countless disciples of the Langi Academy were stunned. If the purple true dragon didn't protect them, all of them would have died. That's terrifying. The cultivators of the Big Dipper sect are indeed powerful. Will Senior Taichu be a match for them? Many people were hesitant. Dugu Xiao was worried about Jiang Tian, and even Zhang Yilin couldn't stay calm. After all, the people Jiang Tian killed before were the puppets of the Beihan sect and cultivators from Earth, but Qianlong was a real cultivator of the Beihan sect. Qianlong, not only do you deserve to die, but the Beihan sect behind you also deserves to die. Jiang Tian's killing intent was gradually released. It rose into the sky like a smoke signal, and it shook the bowl. His voice was so cold that it sounded like a cold gust of wind that came from the depths of hell. I'll kill all the invaders of the Beihan sect and wash the planet with blood. One day, I'll even go to the Beihan sect in the Beidou planet region and the Kaiyang planet region. I'll destroy the Beihan sect and uproot it. In fact, everyone who is related to this invasion will be killed. How dare you? Qianlong was enraged. He had never thought that a cultivator from Earth would say something like that. The Beihan sect was extremely powerful. They had many soul formation cultivators and nascent soul cultivators, and they were all at the soul formation level and nascent soul level. They were the top of the top 10 divine sects in the Kaiyang galaxy and were even more powerful in the entire Beidou region. And yet, Jiang Tian said that he would destroy the Beihan sect. How arrogant and domineering he was. Very well, very well. The Beihan sect used to be gentle and didn't want to kill humans on Earth. But today, Earth will pay the price for what you said. After I kill you, your heavenly clear sect, your old friends, I'll slaughter them all. After Qianlong finished speaking, his right hand reached into the void. Suddenly, a long spear that looked like a beautiful jade crystal appeared in his palm. The long spear was surrounded by cold air and laws of the shape of snowflakes and ice crystals. Once it appeared, the temperature in the grotto heaven dropped to absolute zero. Everyone felt that it was difficult to circulate their energy and their immortal will suddenly stopped. Boom! He held the long spear in his hand and stepped on the ice chariot, creating a white turbulence. The long spear pierced through the dimension and froze everything. It seemed to be able to kill all living things. That's Divine Prince Qianlong's Ice Heart Divine Spear. I heard that Divine Prince Qianlong used this spear to kill 3 demonic beasts of the soul formation level. Jiang Taichu is dead for sure. Right? I heard that this spear is a peak stage Dao artifact. It's even a sacred weapon. It's extremely powerful. Isn't Divine Prince Qianlong bullying others with this spear? He can kill soul formation cultivators like killing chickens. Kang Taichu is too weak. How can he resist? Many puppet cultivators of the Beihan sect were thrilled to see this. The war chariot was extremely fast. Qianlong revealed a ferocious expression. His eyes were extremely cold and vicious. The Ice Heart Divine Spear pierced out with an unstoppable force. It could freeze space in advance and form a natural domain, making it difficult for the opponent to even move. You're just a frog at the bottom of a well. You don't know how vast the universe is. So what if you came back safely from the ruins of deities? The ruins of deities? Since when did the cultivators of the Beihan sect care about the ruins of deities? Seeing that the spear was about to hit Jiang Tian's spirit embryo, Qianlong thought with disdain, but he didn't show any mercy. You're just an ant. But right at this moment, Jiang Tian's right hand suddenly stretched out and grabbed the Ice Heart spear, and his movements were casual as if he was taking something out of his pocket. What? The Ice Heart realm can see through essence chi, dharma laws, dimension and divine soul. Why is it useless against him? Qianlong's eyes were filled with shock and disbelief, as if he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. Go to hell. Jiang Tianxin's hand snapped as if he was breaking a hemp pole. He directly broke the divine spear into 2 halves. In front of Qianlong's frightened eyes, he unleashed a punch that caused Qianlong to spit out blood. His chest caved in as he flew away. How is that possible? That's a quasi-sacred weapon. Do you think it's a sugarcane? Godchild Qianlong was sent flying like a rag doll with a single punch. No, he's more like a chicken or a dog. He can't even withstand a single blow. Many cultivators of the Beihan sect screamed as if their mothers had died. What they had seen was too shocking. It was completely out of their expectations. But Qianlong didn't die. After spitting out a few mouthfuls of blood, he turned around and tried to escape. No wonder he's so resilient. He's a 9th grade peak stage nascent soul cultivator. He's as powerful as the soul formation cultivators in the ruins of deities. Jiang Tian scanned with his immortal will and was enlightened. Resilient? But I'd like to see how long you can last. Jiang Tian grinned. Swish. Jiang Tian didn't give him a chance. He used the Kunpeng to catch up with him. Jiang Tian punched countless times and many of Divine Prince Qianlong's bones were broken. In the end, Jiang Tian stomped on the ground. He and his chariot were stomped into the depths of the small world, creating a giant pit a few kilometers wide. His nascent soul and his body were smashed into meat paste. At that moment, the entire small world was in silence. All the cultivators of the Beihan sect looked pale and couldn't believe what they had seen. The entire small world was boiling. The cultivators of the Langya sect who had been oppressed for 3 months started to fight back. At this moment, along with this half-step divine lord being crushed by Jiang Tian, the situation of the battle had completely reversed, becoming a foregone conclusion. There was no need for Jiang Tian to do anything. Everyone was fighting bravely. There were even puppet cultivators that were torn to pieces and eaten alive. It was too tragic. The disciples of the Langya sect had been bullied too badly. Thousands of people had died in 3 months. Parents had lost their children and women had lost their husbands. Many orphans and widows were crying helplessly. Those cultivators of the Langya sect had been tortured to death. It was extremely miserable and inhumane. The entire Langya sect had turned into a terrifying sea of blood. As for Jiang Tian, he scanned the area with his divine sense. Finally, in an extremely hidden cave, he found the imprint left behind by Divine Lord Scorpio. Jiang Tian raised his hand and grabbed it. After confirming that there was no mistake, his expression turned serious as he said in a deep voice, "Yilin, immediately release this video to the entire world." Chapter 1719. Then, the puppets of the Beihan sect fell one by one. Some of the golden core cultivators of the Beihan sect had also died in the chaos. Gradually, the sounds of fighting became softer and softer. The entire Langya secret territory finally calmed down. The battle had finally ended. We actually won? The disciples of the Langya Academy looked at the destroyed secret land and couldn't come back to their senses. They couldn't believe it. Even though they had fought back, the more they fought, the more they felt that the Beihan sect was invincible. Even a nascent soul cultivator was extremely powerful, not to mention a half-step soul formation cultivator. They thought that they would be slaves forever until they died of old age. Now, even Qianlong, who was half a step away from the divine transformation realm, had been killed. They had regained their freedom. It's all thanks to the Taichu sect leader. Thank you, Taichu sect leader. Many people were so excited that their eyes were brimming with tears. Many of them even knelt down. Firstly, it was to thank Jiang Tian for saving their lives. Secondly, it was because of Jiang Tian's peerless power. Dugu Xiao, the sect leader of the Langyi Academy, greets the sect leader of the Myth Alliance. Welcome back, Taichu sect leader. Dugu Xiao also knelt down on one knee and cupped his fists. His face was full of respect. He had a special relationship with Jiang Tian. When they were fighting in Japan, they called each other brothers. Even if he called Jiang Tian brother, now, Jiang Tian wouldn't blame him. He would only feel happy. But now, he bowed to him respectfully. Because Jiang Tian had saved the entire Langyi Academy, so he had to show his respect and express his gratitude. This was not the time to be trifled with. Xiao, get up. From now on, you are free and you will never be slaves. Jiang Tian looked around at the crowd. Then he helped them up and gave them pellets. He even helped them nurse their divine bodies and heal their wounds. How can we repay the Taichu sect leader's kindness? We can only repay the Taichu sect leader's kindness by sacrificing our lives. Many of the Langi Academy cultivators were moved to tears. Some of the elders even shouted loudly. This was because when Jiang Tian fought for the sake of Hua Xia, the Langi Academy only watched from the sidelines and never helped him, even though Du Gushao had suggested that they should help. However, at that time, the person in charge was still Taoist Master Qin Mu. He had followed the teachings of his sect, which forbade the Arcana land from entering the mortal world and the Yin sect from interfering with the secular world. Therefore, Du Guxiao's suggestion was rejected. In short, due to various reasons, Langi Academy had indeed not helped Jiang Tian at all, and the only thing they had done for him was the chance encounter between Jiang Tian and Du Guxiao. However, Jiang Tian took out precious medicinal pills to heal them. He even ignored his noble status and personally nursed them back to health. How could they not be moved? Brother-in-law, I've already broadcasted the images in the image to the entire world through my live stream. What should we do next? Zhang Yilin asked. Give them 3 days to think about it. Once the 3 days are up, if they still don't declare war on the Big Dipper cultivators, they can all be killed. Jiang Tian's face was indifferent as he said coldly. My livestream platform was already the most popular livestream platform after the recovery of Spirit Chi. In fact, a few years ago, a large number of venture capital and funds had entered the video livestream industry to expand and seize the market. However, they still didn't reach the level of my livestream. Especially after the recovery of Spirit Chi, my livestream signed a large number of cultivators and opened up a large number of cultivation-related channels, which made my livestream even more popular. In the end, it defeated all the other competitors or acquired them. Today, my livestream platform had the largest market share in the world. Whether it was viewers, fans, or streamers, hundreds of millions of users browsed on it every day. Before the recovery of Spirit Chi, Zhang Shisan was a frequent visitor on the Darknet Forum and the Warrior Forum, and a popular person on Weibo. After the recovery of Spirit Chi, when it entered the era of live streaming, Zhang Shisan also reached the foundation establishment stage. He took the opportunity to transform and became a live streaming internet celebrity. He was originally a demon hunting streamer. Every day, he would fly outside the city and casually kill a wild boar in the Qi refinement stage. He deliberately made the battle process dangerous and added some lively and cute post-production special effects to receive a lot of crystal rewards. He bought a spiritual treasure-level flying sword and lived in a high-end community equipped with a spirit-gathering array. He lived a happy life. The channels of my livestream platform were very rich. For example, outdoor live streaming, flying sword racing, talking about the world, talents and beauties, national cultivation, crystal guessing, and so on. Whether you like to kill demon beasts, refine weapons, or refine pills, or even sing and dance, you could find a stage to display your talents. Let's see what's fun today. Today, Zhang Shisan didn't go out to hunt monsters. He was originally a more peaceful streamer. Zhang Shisan was a fanatical fan of Jiang Tian back then. However, since the arrival of the Big Dipper Alliance, his broadsword was no longer hungry and thirsty. He keenly felt that the extraterrestrial cultivators such as the Beihan sect had been secretly dispelling Jiang Tian's influence and weakening Jiang Tian's authority. Therefore, he became a real idler. He quit the Myth Alliance, stopped killing monsters, stopped fighting, and didn't join any cultivation organizations of the Big Dipper Alliance or the human race on Earth. Sometimes, he would kill a few beasts for fun. Although he was very peaceful, it had become a habit for him to log in and watch my live stream every day. He immediately lay down on the tiger skin sofa and lazily opened the app on his phone. The biggest secret in history is revealed: the truth about the arrival of the Big Dipper monster clan. When he saw this banner, Zhang Shisan was also stunned. He touched his chin and said, "When did my live stream become such a clickbait?" But this is the live stream room of the president, Zhang Yilin. Maybe there's something interesting. Zhang Shisan clicked on the live stream room. Damn, it's something interesting. But as he watched, Zhang Shisan suddenly sat up from the tiger skin sofa and slapped his thigh. He couldn't look away anymore. He sighed repeatedly. Damn. It turns out that the invasion of the Big Dipper monster clan was instigated by Han Ming of the Beihan sect. Damn. It turns out that Han Ming is playing a trick of killing two birds with one stone. He wants to get rid of the Scorpio Divine Lord and other monsters, and he also wants to establish an image of a savior in front of the human race on Earth. It turns out that the human race on Earth has been fooled for so many years. This video was the imprint of the secret discussion between Han Ming and the Scorpio Divine Lord. The imprint was different from ordinary holographic videos. It had the residual fluctuations of the laws, so it couldn't be faked. Therefore, Zhang Shisan immediately knew that it was true. This news is undoubtedly subversive. Zhang Yilin is indeed Kang Teichu's cousin. She's so bold and domineering that she even dares to release such news. Are we going to fight again? My big saber is thirsty and thirsty again. Zhang Shisan was so shocked that he slapped his thigh in excitement. In fact, he wasn't the only one. Billions of cultivators and mortals on Earth were paying attention to this matter. Originally, there were many die-hard fans of Jiang Tian on Earth. When the Big Dipper Righteous Alliance arrived and began to seize power, constantly weakening Jiang Tian's influence, many cultivators and mortals were greatly dissatisfied. Although Han Ming Zongzi did it very secretly. Although Jiang Tian's supporters didn't know the inside story and couldn't find any relevant evidence. But there was always a faint feeling that the Big Dipper human cultivators were up to no good. Now, their various speculations had finally come to fruition. Did you know? It turns out that the Big Dipper human race and the Big Dipper monster clan are in cahoots. It's just that the Big Dipper monster clan was used as cannon fodder, and after occupying Earth, they were dealt with again. See, I've long said that the Big Dipper human race is up to no good. Look at the chairman's live stream room, there's something interesting. The plot twists don't be too exciting. When this heavy news was released, it could be said that a stone stirred up 1,000 ripples, and the entire world couldn't calm down. Zhang Yilin's live stream room instantly exploded, and the number of people online rose steadily, and finally reached more than 100 million people online at the same time. Moreover, there were people broadcasting, recording, or forwarding to Weibo public accounts and other platforms in the middle. Han Ming Zongzi of the Righteous Alliance is the culprit behind the Big Dipper monster clan's invasion of Earth in the past 2 years. In almost 5 minutes, this news had spread throughout Earth. Chapter 1720. Many cultivators and mortals didn't believe it at first. After all, Han Ming Zongzi and the other cultivators of the Alliance of Justice and Order were too good at disguising themselves. I don't believe it. It must be fake. A Foundation establishment cultivator shook his head. It said that the Kaiyang system in the Beidou sector is much bigger than the solar system. The spirit qi and cultivation resources are 10 or 100 times richer. Why would Han Ming Zongzi and the others from the Beidou sector covet Earth? It's like a true dragon swimming in the deep sea coveting the quagmire where a loach lives. We're just gauging the heart of a gentleman with our own mean measure. However, the Dharma artifact is a shadow left by the essence qi fluctuation. It can't be faked. It must be real. There's no need to discuss this anymore. Some cultivators argued. Even if this Dharma artifact is real, it can't prove Han Ming Zongzi's true intentions. Maybe it's just a strategic necessity. The previous Foundation establishment cultivator argued. Han Ming Zongzi is fully capable of occupying Earth, but he didn't do so. He just built some space cities in outer space or bought some concessions. If he wanted to occupy Earth, would he have stayed until now? Someone focused on how to obtain the Dharma artifact. This Dharma artifact should have been left by Lord Scorpio of the Beidou demon clan. How did it end up in Zhang Yilin's hands? Is she related to Lord Scorpio? If this is true, then we've really been used by the Alliance of Justice and Order. The Beidou demon clan is just cannon fodder. It doesn't matter if they die. But the demon clan of Earth once fought side by side with us against the invaders of the ruins of immortality on Mars. They died unjustly. Some cultivators had already begun to reflect. These discussions began in Zhang Yilin's livestream room. Soon, the relevant images were reposted on major Weibo, self-media, martial arts forums, and Cultivator forums. The discussion further expanded and quickly grabbed the headlines of various media outlets. At this time, many puppets of the Alliance of Justice and Order had also received the news. However, it was impossible to stop and seal them. Soon, the Tianqing school made a public statement. We question the justice of the Alliance of Justice and Order. We demand all Beidou cultivators and the Alliance of Justice and Order to withdraw from all secret realms and even space cities on Earth. Following that, the Western Temple of God and the new 12 Lords of God also stood on Tianqing school's side. These were the new 12 chief gods that Queen Hera had groomed and selected before she had sacrificed herself. They were deeply influenced by Queen Hera and were also her staunch supporters. Immediately afterward, Ghost Emperor Lu Shang of Mount Mang, Dragon Qi Ao Bing of Mount Whitehead, Li Wuji represented the cultivation world of Huaxia, and Yingying Laozu represented the reclusive royalty. They all publicly announced one after another, requesting the Big Dipper Alliance of Justice and Order to give an explanation and permanently withdraw from Earth before the cultivation world of Earth reached a consensus. I was once proud of Ying Su because he died in battle to protect Earth. But I didn't expect that the enemy he faced wasn't the real enemy. He's just a toy that some people use to play with the world. In order to protect our home and homeland, we do not hesitate to die. But we can't die without knowing why. Those who sat behind the scenes and enjoyed the fruits of others' labor, those who profited greatly from the war, must give a proper explanation. During the interview, Yingying Laozu burst into tears and angrily slammed the table. This was a great sorrow. They had thought that Ying Su and the others were fighting for lofty ideals, defending their home and fighting for justice. When the news of Ying Su's sacrifice came, although Yingying Laozu was sad, he also felt honored. As the saying went, loyal bones are buried everywhere in the mountains. Why should they be buried in the battlefield? Dying on the battlefield was the most glorious ending for a warrior. In fact, all the blood and sacrifices in this war were meaningless. They were just being used, schemed against, and made a wedding dress for others. The real culprit was hiding behind the scenes and even putting on the mantle of a messenger of justice. They were regarded as saviors and benefactors. This made Yingying Laozu feel that his intelligence had been insulted. If the so-called Big Dipper Alliance of Justice and Order didn't instigate and control behind the scenes, the Big Dipper monster clan wouldn't have invaded Earth. The human race and the monster cultivators on Earth wouldn't have died in battle in a foreign land, and we wouldn't have suffered heavy losses. Just the expulsion of Mars alone killed 2,000 cultivators on Earth. In the 2 years since the Big Dipper monster clan's invasion, how many people have been displaced? How many people have lost their homes? How many people have been separated from their families? Fight against our real enemy, the Big Dipper Alliance of Justice and Order. Some cultivators shouted angrily. But they should be called the Evil Alliance. They're despicable and sinister. They're worse than robbery. Yes, they sold us out and made us count the money for them. They're despicable. Fight with them. Following the shout, many people agreed. As the discussion went on, they basically reached a consensus that the information imprinted in the image was true. The next step was to enter the strategy of how to deal with the Big Dipper Alliance of Justice and Order. There were serious disagreements. In the battle with the Big Dipper monster clan, we also saw how powerful the Big Dipper Alliance of Justice and Order is. They have more than a dozen soul formation cultivators and countless nascent soul cultivators. And they're all soul formation cultivators and nascent soul cultivators. How many soul formation cultivators are there on Earth? None. How can we fight with them? With our mouths? Under the agitation of the crowd, there were naturally many people who wanted to fight, but more people put forward opposing opinions to maintain their rationality. But we know that the enemy is the Big Dipper Alliance of Justice and Order. Shouldn't we take revenge? Don't tell me you're going to swallow your anger and pretend that nothing happened. How can the souls of those Earth cultivators who died in the war rest in peace? We're talking and laughing with our enemies. If we don't take revenge, how can we face the world? Someone choked, full of grief and indignation. We have to fight, but not now. I used to admire Zhang Yilin's courage to publicly imprint the image. Women are not inferior to men. But now, I still think that she's too impulsive. She should draw a bow but not release it. She should plan slowly and secretly join forces. As the saying goes, build high walls and slowly proclaim kings. She should have been fully prepared. Now, we've alerted the enemy. The Big Dipper Alliance of Justice and Order knows that their scandal has been exposed and the cultivators on Earth are hostile. How can they not take action? They'll immediately change from the original policy of appeasement to a policy of suppression and extermination. Again, with the power of the cultivation world now, we can't even compare to a finger of the Big Dipper Alliance of Justice and Order. Besides, they have the more powerful North Frost sect, the Mizang Galaxy and the Alcade Galaxy behind them. Both sides engaged in a battle of words, exchanging blows back and forth, neither giving way to the other as they tore into each other. But when someone said that, the entire public opinion went silent. Many people were speechless. That was the truth. The Big Dipper Alliance was too powerful. It was formed by the cultivators of the North Frost sect and many other divine sects. There were more than a dozen soul formation cultivators in total. Any one of them could defeat everyone on Earth. For example, King Geoffrey of Atlantis and King Saidi of the Pyramid were merely puppets nurtured by the Alliance of Justice and Order. Yet they were still able to suppress Li Wuji, Sidu Shao, and even Lotus Old Relai. If only Kong Teichu were still here. Suddenly, someone who was drunk lamented with a dejected face. If Kong Teichu were here, the Big Dipper humans wouldn't have succeeded. They might even work with the Big Dipper monsters to kill the humans. Someone slammed the table in excitement. Back then, Kong Teichu was so powerful that he defeated all the worlds in the solar system and directly triggered the Spirit Chi revival. He planted the foundation of eternity on Earth and broke the deity trap array, allowing the entire Earth to enter a new era of Spirit Chi revival. Besides, Jiang Tian was very wise. No one could trick him, whether it was the famous Preaching sects or the Tungus demons. He proposed that the mythical alliance should abandon the differences between the sects and unite the monsters and ghost cultivators, which was very prescient. It turned out that it was indeed so. The monsters on Earth weren't villains. Instead, they played an important role in suppressing the violent monsters and resisting the expeditionary army in the ruins of immortality. Later, they were completely wrongly killed. The humans of the Big Dipper humans looked similar to the humans on Earth, but they were evil people. However, people could only hope for a moment, because almost everyone thought that Jiang Tian must have died there after learning the truth about the ruins of immortality. And even if Jiang Tian came back alive, so what? A few years before the Spirit Chi revival, the eruption of Spirit Chi was the fiercest, and the cultivators improved the fastest. Kong Teichu had missed it. Besides, the Big Dipper cultivators were too strong. They belonged to an extraterrestrial civilization. How could Jiang Tian be a match for them? At this time, Geoffrey, the leader of the mythical alliance, the Pyramid King Sudi, and the King of Babylon, Ashur, all stood on the side of the Big Dipper Alliance. They began to speak, support, and show their attitude. Since the arrival of the Big Dipper cultivators, the progress of the cultivation world on Earth is obvious to all. Zhang Yilin published this fake image of the brand, distorting the truth. We can't help but ask, what is your purpose? This image of the brand involves the Big Dipper monsters. We can't help but ask, where did you get it? Are you in cahoots with the Big Dipper monsters? In the old site of Babylon, in the secret realm of the Tower of Babel, the king of Ashur stepped out and shouted at Zhang Yilin. Chapter 1721. A person like Zhang Yilin who distorts the truth should be killed as a warning to the world. Beside the Nile River, at the top of the Black Pyramid, Pharaoh Sudi shouted to the audience in the livestream room. His face was cold and murderous. Now that Spirit Chi had recovered, cultivation was no longer mysterious and superior. Instead, it had become the mainstream of the new era and even the core and support of the operation of society. Under the Great Changes, the leaders of the Myth Alliance were also very close to the people. They often accepted media interviews and even set up live streams. They had many followers. Zhang Yilin has an ulterior motive. She's trying to confuse the public and destroy the great unity of the Big Dipper Alliance and the Myth Alliance. The Myth Alliance strongly condemns this and orders you to apologize to the Righteous Alliance. Otherwise, you will be arrested and convicted. In Atlantis, Jeffrey announced proudly with a very strong attitude. This was not an ordinary threat. He was speaking on behalf of the Myth Alliance. His words carried weight and he made the final decision. Even though some members of the Alliance had sacrificed themselves in the battle against the Big Dipper demon race, and even though Lotus, Old Rulai, Sidu Shao, and Li Wuji had been suppressed, there were also new talents in the cultivation world who had risen to the top. At this time, the Myth Alliance was still very strong. It was still the top cultivation organization on Earth. There were many nascent Soul Realm cultivators and countless Golden Core Realm cultivators. If the Myth Alliance wanted to take action, Zhang Yilin could not resist at all. In the livestream room, Zhang Yilin immediately responded to the shouts of the three new giants of the Myth Alliance. Have you forgotten the oath you made when the Myth Alliance was first established? 5 years ago, you guys were greedy for peace, obstructing the recovery of spiritual energy, or trying to seize control of the Myth Alliance. You guys fought a fierce battle with my cousin in Tunguska and were utterly defeated. You knelt and begged for mercy, calling yourselves Taoist ancestors. If it weren't for my cousin's mercy, you losers would have been reduced to ashes. Especially Jeffrey, he was even willing to acknowledge my cousin as his foster father, saying, "Long live my foster father," and swearing eternal loyalty. Now you've turned your back on us. You've thrown aside the Alliance declaration, purpose, and doctrine that you worshipped back then. You've disregarded your oath back then as bullshit. Do you have any shame? Zhang Yilin was a businesswoman to begin with, and she started her business by researching live streaming. She often negotiated business deals or hosted various events. Perhaps she was not good at cultivation, but when it came to talking, she had no problem taking on 3 or 4 people at once. All of a sudden, the live stream was flooded with messages. The fans were sending gifts like crazy, and the number of people online soared again. Some even went to Jeffrey and the other two's live stream to curse at them. 66666. What Mr. Zhang said makes sense. Well said. 100 flying swords. Awesome. It was too satisfying. I'll give him a spiritual grade flying boat. Jeffrey is shameless. He likes to be a godson. I heard that he's planning to become Han Ming Zhongzi's godson. Jeffrey, let's not talk about you. Do you think you deserve to be the leader of the Myth Alliance? Even if you're the director of our neighborhood's public toilet, you're not qualified. Director Zhang has already taken out the image imprint artifact. The evidence is conclusive, yet these 3 old farts still want to quibble on behalf of the Big Dipper cultivator. Are you the Alliance Master and Vice Alliance Master of Myth Alliance? You're all just a bunch of bootlickers. The one with milk is the mother. Why don't you think about it? If the leader of the Tai Chu Alliance did not give them the status and opportunity to teach them cultivation techniques, would they be where they are today? Now, the leader of the Tai Chu Alliance has just left for a few days, and they're biting the hand that feeds them. They're shameless to the extreme. Faced with Zhang Yilin's sharp tongue, the 3 leaders of the new Myth Alliance were speechless. Especially when the netizens agreed with them, it made them even more furious. In the end, Pharaoh Seth, the Assyrian king of Babel, Jeffrey, and Zhang Yilin contacted them. Seth was the first to shed all pretense of cordiality. He snarled coldly, "Back then, Kong Techu used his power to oppress us. We had no choice but to put up with him and endure the humiliation. But now, it's no longer his time. Do you think that if Kong Techu looks back, you won't be afraid either?" Zhang Yilin asked with a half-smile. Seth smiled proudly and said, "I told you, this is no longer his time. We're all nascent soul cultivators now, and we're all nascent soul cultivators who have been taught by cultivators from other planets. Kong Techu is nothing compared to us." Very good. Very confident. I hope that when Kong Taechu returns one day, you can still say the same thing in front of him. Zhang Yilin sneered. Of course. Seth was full of confidence. He was no longer the same as before. He didn't take Jiang Tian seriously at all. Not only him, the Assyrian king also spoke. Ms. Zhang, you're too naive to ask this question. You probably don't know how powerful the Beidou cultivation civilization is. In terms of the difference in cultivation civilization, for example, Big Dipper is like Silicon Valley, which is flourishing with technology. On the other hand, Earth, including the orthodoxy of the Tianqing sect, is like the slash-and-burn cultivation in the primitive jungles of Africa. He was brimming with immense confidence and inflated to the extreme as he proudly said, "Back then, Jiang Taichu seemed to be riding a motorcycle. Of course, it was much faster than us walking. For us to prostrate ourselves in worship, it is difficult for us to look up to him. But is a motorcycle the fastest? Don't forget that there are supersonic fighter jets and rockets. Unfortunately, the cultivation civilization of Big Dipper is a supersonic fighter jet. It's not something that Jiang Taichu, who rides a broken motorcycle, can compare to. There are thousands of principles in the world, but the biggest principle is that whoever has the biggest fist is right. In the eyes of the Beidou cultivators, and even in the eyes of us, Kong Taechu is just an ant." He looked at Jiang Tian with disdain, as if he were an ant under his feet. "Ha, you don't know that in Kong Taechu's eyes, you are also ants." Zhang Yilin couldn't help but laugh. However, before the lid was about to be lifted, she would not say that Jiang Tian had already returned in a powerful manner. Let them jump around, the happier they jump, the better. Now was the best time to expose all the spies and traitors. "Jeffrey, you called Kong Taechu your adoptive father. Aren't you afraid that Dad will beat you for betraying him like this?" Zhang Yilin said mockingly. At the mention of acknowledging a thief as his father, Joffrey was so angry that his face turned red, then black, then white, before finally turning completely green. He said angrily, "Huaxia once said, 'The heavens don't disappoint those who work hard, and the heavens don't disappoint those who work hard.' Isn't it the same for me? Father Aomu was killed by Jiang Taichu with his own hands. Think about it, if I had the slightest bit of conscience, how could I recognize Jiang Taichu, the person who killed my father, as my foster father? The answer is in that story. I took Jiang Taichu as my adoptive father in order to dissolve his enmity, so that I can take my revenge one day. I have never really surrendered to him. How could I betray him?" Jeffrey said righteously, "Very well. I hope you will remember what you said today and don't regret it." When Zhang Yilin ended the connection, she was on a flying boat. Nowadays, the development of Dharma artifacts such as crystal ships and flying swords had taken over the aerospace market. Jiang Tian had bought this flying ship in a small town at the foot of Hengduan Mountain. It was very affordable and was worth only a few million yuan. Besides, its speed was close to the speed of sound, which was enough for daily use. It also had an autopilot function, which allowed Jiang Tian to sit cross-legged and take a break. Jiang Tian was worried that the Beihan faction would find out about his whereabouts, so he used the strategy of swimming back to the sea. The Langyi Academy was disbanded and the disciples sneaked into other cities. The current Huaxiao was too large for any orthodoxy or force to fully control. It was like spilling a glass of water in the desert. Even if the Beihan faction wanted to kill them, they could not do it quickly. She said to Jiang Tian, who was sitting in the passenger seat and looking at his phone, "Cousin, did you hear what they said? They are not human." In fact, I didn't trust Jeffrey, the king of Assyria, and Sudi. I wanted to get rid of them. Jiang Tian looked away from the electronic screen, looked at the clouds outside the window, and sighed helplessly. He sighed and said, "But gossip is a fearful thing. If I had killed them quickly, I would have killed them. People would have said that I was cruel and unscrupulous. They would have even cursed me to die a horrible death. But I didn't kill them. They betrayed me today." Of the many onlookers who were watching from the sidelines, some of them were on my side and hated them to the core. But some of them will say that I was too soft-hearted and indecisive. They said that I was not decisive enough and that they deserved it. Zhang Yilin nodded and said, "Yes, cousin. I also think that you are in a tough spot." As for Jiang Tian, he was flying to Gold City. The mythological alliances competition was going to be held. It was going to be held in Jin City. Ji Muxian, Ji Mingchuan, and almost all the sects in Huaxia would be there. The significance of Ji Muxian holding such an important exchange meeting in Jiang Tian's hometown was self-evident. It was to announce to the world. The new generation would replace the old. Jiang Tian's era was over. This is a good opportunity to kill them all. Jiang Tian flicked his finger as a cold glint flashed in his eyes as he thought to himself. Chapter 1722. The current mythology alliance included almost all the cultivation sects and clans, big and small. It didn't matter if they were new or old, martial arts, spells, or pure cultivation. The latest competition of the Myth Alliance was held in Jin City. When the news spread, it immediately caused an uproar and many speculated. They purposely held it in Kong Teichu's hometown. But Kong Teichu's forces, other than the Tianqing School and Sidoni Dojo, are not much left. Isn't this a slap to Kong Teichu's face? Isn't that so? Now, the old cultivation forces in Huaxia have been replaced by some new orthodoxies. For example, the Boundless Dojo, the Snow God's Palace, the Desolation Temple, the Arctic Academy, and so on are all supported by the Boundless Sect and the Snow God's Palace. There are many nascent soul cultivators. Not to mention that the Freezing North Sect is behind him. Now, Kong Teichu's forces have almost withdrawn from Huaxia and are entrenched in Sidoni. If they were to lose their last piece of territory, Tianqing School will completely disappear from this world. Yeah, back then, the strongest under Kong Teichu's command were only Zhenlong, Hades, and Lotus. In terms of cultivation, they were only in the nascent soul realm. The rest were Kong Teichu and a few other core formation cultivators. And the kind that has no grade. Unlike now, the orthodoxies are too prosperous. This should be the last competition of the Myth Alliance. The previous few times, the Tianqing sect had been defeated in the grand competition. If they lose again, they will lose 10 times in a row. Tianqing School will not be able to raise its head in the future. What a pity! The disciples of Tianqing School are too loyal and honest. In order to protect Earth, the three giants, Yi Tianren and Huaqing Tian, and so on, have all died on Mars. Otherwise, they might not have lost control of the Myth Alliance. Many people sighed regretfully. If only Kong Teichu was still here. Someone couldn't help but sigh. But immediately, there were rebuttals from below. Stop dreaming. Kong Teichu had already died in the ruins of immortality. He was only a golden core cultivator back then. It was difficult for him to challenge a nascent soul cultivator, let alone a soul formation cultivator. Do you know how many nascent soul cultivators there are in the ruins of immortality? There were at least 10,000 people. More than 100 semi-god realm warriors. Besides, even if Jiang Taichu comes back with his strength, can the trash golden core cultivators like Yu Wendon, Gu Hu, and Arthur be compared to the new nascent soul cultivators like Zhang Huayan, Shi Jinglei, Sing Yilong, and Yang Chen? I heard that they are all 9th stage nascent soul realm cultivators. They will definitely reach the divinity transformation realm in the future. Not even nuclear weapons could kill them. They've all been valued by the Freezing North Sect. In the future, they'll have the chance to follow the Freezing North Sect to the Big Dipper Kayang Galaxy. Such conversations were happening all the time on the internet. In today's new era, only a few people could remember Jiang Tian. One had to know that this was an era of great changes. There were many heroes and geniuses, and new heroes appeared every day. Just like now, we only remember who the richest man is today. As for those 10 or 20 years ago, especially those who had fallen and were even in prison, who would remember and care? The Shanghuayan. When his grandfather was just born, he lost to Yi Tianren. His grandfather's cultivation is only at the golden core stage. Why are you so afraid of him? On the flying boat that had already entered the city of Jincheng, Jiang Tian tasted red wine and swiped his fingers across the tablet. On the screen was the identity information of the nascent soul cultivators who participated in this gathering, all sent by Cheng Lulu. Although Ji Muxian now controlled the power of the guardians of Huaxia, and even ousted Li Wuji in the Kunlun sect. However, not everyone was stupid and allowed to be manipulated by him. Many in the guardians of Huaxia were staunch supporters of Ing Su and Jiang Tian. After Cheng Lulu got in touch with some of the hawkish members, she immediately got the information. Indeed, Cheng Lulu video called Jiang Tian and said, his grandfather is called Zhang Bating. He is ambitious and unwilling to be left alone. After you left, he proposed to compete with Yi Tianren, but in fact, he just wanted to win an official position in the mythological alliance. Unexpectedly, he was no match for Yi Tianren at all. He was beaten until he spat out blood and almost died on the spot. Zhang Huayan is also a person from the secret realm and has been in hiding for at least 300 years. When he debuted, he was only at the immortal realm, the so-called late stage of qi refinement. However, in the first 2 years of the recovery of spirit qi, or perhaps because of the stimulation brought by his grandfather's serious injury, he reached the golden core stage. After the arrival of the Big Dipper, he was very brave in killing the demons and quickly got the attention and support of the Justice Alliance. Within a year, he reached the nascent soul stage. Now, he, Qi Jinglei, Tsing Yilong Yangchen, and Ji Muxian are known as the 5 heavenly lords of the human race on Earth. They are known as the 5 supreme powerhouses on Earth. Even the limelight of Old Lotus Relai, Senior Li Wuji, and the others is firmly suppressed. Moreover, they have also made some lists, such as the mythological list, the immortal list, and so on, making a pretense. They have the intention of establishing a new order on Earth and replacing Senior Tai Chu. Cheng Lulu said with a look of disdain. Looking at the deeds of these people, they really have the intention of calling themselves the kings of the South because they have no ability at all. 5 supreme powerhouses, 5 heavenly lords my ass. In front of my cousin, all of them are ashes. Zhang Yilin waved her fist angrily and said hatefully, brother, after seeing the shameless faces of those giants of the mythological alliance today, I really can't stand it. Especially Qi Jinglei, Tsing Yilong Yangchen, and the others, they are crazily scolding me in the live broadcast. You have to stand up for me, otherwise, I can't live anymore. Although she was a strong woman in the workplace, she was still a little girl in front of Jiang Tian, who said whatever was on her mind and was unscrupulous. It was probably because she had gone through hardships with Jiang Tian, so she was especially confident in this family relationship. I have to arrange it. Jiang Tian had only been back for a few days, but now he had learned some popular words on Earth. Jin City was now very prosperous. It had become a giant city that had both a sense of technology and cultivation. It was also a harmonious city. In the sky, flying boats came one after another, and flying swords streaked across the sky. They were gathered from all over the country and even the world. The exchange of the mythological alliance this time was organized by the Kunlun sect, and its influence was not small. Kunlun Building. Located by the Qinhuai River, it was the new landmark building of Gold City. It was more than 1,000 meters tall and had more than 200 floors, known as the tallest building in Gold City. The boss's background was very mysterious. It was said that there was a real nascent soul heavenly lord behind him. Even the most arrogant young masters of Gold City would not dare to be presumptuous when they came here. Even a dragon would have to lie low, and even a fierce tiger would have to hide its claws and teeth. And the official hotel of the exchange event was here. Nowadays, martial artists and cultivators had reached the highest level. They could fly in the sky and burrow underground, and they were also very destructive. A golden core cultivator could easily destroy a city, not to mention a nascent soul cultivator. Therefore, the competition was held at a military training ground dozens of kilometers away from the hotel. At this time, the entrance of the Kunlun building was flashing non-stop. Luxury cars drove over one after another, and all sorts of men and women in suits and evening gowns walked out of them. Many media reporters even blocked the entrance of the building. It's Li Huiyan. She's the most popular celebrity in Huaxia and the world. I didn't expect her to be here too. I even heard that the young master of Zhang Huayan's family once expressed his love for her. Li Jinju, the goddess of South Korea, is here too. I heard that many golden core perfected cultivators are her fanatical admirers and pursuers. Not only does she control the Star Moon Group, the biggest conglomerate in South Korea, but she's also an all-round actress in the film industry. The reporters talked to each other excitedly as they took photos. Not only were there cultivators, but there were also rich and powerful people. There were even some celebrities and artists who were there to embellish the event. Although the grand competition was the core of this so-called exchange event, the merging of various interests, the intertwining of connections, and the facilitation of transactions were also important contents. It's so lively here. Jiang Tian walked among the crowd in the building. He was wearing an old robe and a pair of sunglasses. He had also changed his appearance with the art of deceiving the heavens. Zhang Yilin, who had also changed her appearance with a secret art, walked among the crowd. Chapter 1723. Not only were there cultivators, but there were also many tycoons and sect masters among the guests. Is that Shen Xiong, the young CEO of the Beihuang Mineral Group, the top mining magnate in Huaxia? I heard that 50% of the spirit stone mines in Huaxia are controlled and developed by him. He's so rich that even Rockefeller and the Middle Eastern oil giants have been bought by him. They can't even compare to him. Lu Qingho, the young CEO of the Green Bird Group. The Green Bird Group is currently the world's top flying boat manufacturer and has the technical support of the Beihan sect. It's enough to be on par with the artifact refining technology of the Sidoni Academy of Sciences. Yeah, I heard that the Green Bird Group has already bought Boeing. So many tycoons are here? It seems that they're taking this competition very seriously. As the tycoons walked in, the scene was in an uproar again. Many people were discussing. It's more than that. This is a big deal for the cultivation world in Huaxia. Do you think these competitions are a joke? They're all about the stakes. Tianqing School's dojos, such as Amei and Diansong, have all lost in the previous competitions. Now, only the 100 Medicine Valley is left. Once Tianqing School fails again, it will mean that the Tianqing School's dojos in Huaxia will be completely defeated and can only withdraw. A reporter who knew the inside story said calmly. Tianqing School has declined after all. This is the cruelty of the era of great change. If you're not careful, you'll be abandoned by the era and can't keep up anymore. Everyone was discussing and lamenting. Could be said that this era was even more shocking than the reform and opening up of Huaxia in the last century. Every day, there would be people breaking through to the foundation establishment, golden core, and even nascent soul level. Every day, new cultivation arts were created and new dojos, sects and forces were formed. There were all kinds of people and there were all kinds of changes. It's the Zhang family of the Kunlun Group. They're here too. He seems to be the famous young master of the Zhang family, Zhang Kai, right? Suddenly, someone exclaimed. Everyone's eyes narrowed as they opened their eyes to look. They saw a tall and handsome young man, surrounded by many tycoons and celebrities, walk over arrogantly. His figure was tall and slender, and there was a faint divine light flickering in his eyes. Everyone who had seen this man before couldn't help but give way to him, their faces filled with respect. Even the leaders of the top families in the country were afraid and didn't dare to act rashly. Kunlun's Zhang family? How awe-inspiring! A reporter snorted coldly. What can we do? Behind him stood the Kunlun sect's Ji Muxian, as well as the Dragon Lake's Zhang Huayan clan. The Kunlun sect and Zhang Huayan jointly invested in the Kunlun Group. Someone said helplessly, now, who dares to provoke the Kunlun sect's Ji Muxian and the Dragon Slayer clan's Zhang Huayan clan? In the beginning, the Zhang Huayan clan had kept a low profile. But after the recovery of Spirit Qi, they began to rise. Especially after they received the support of the Beihan sect, they became the vanguard of killing monsters and killed many dragons and werewolves. By then, They had taken over the Dragon Lake in Changbai Mountain and were known as the Dragon Slayer clan. Then, the Qi family of Shanghai, who represented the Wuya Arena, and the Zheng family of East Sea, who represented the Desolation Temple, came one after another. They all had one thing in common. They were backed by the Beihan sect and the Righteous Alliance and had obtained the art of Beidou. In the new era, these new families were thriving and their wealth was comparable to that of a country. They were far more powerful than the Zhang Jinghua clan, the Yi family, the Song family, the Lu family and the Mo family of Yanjin. This is strange. Why aren't Zhang Huaiyan and Ji Muxin here? A reporter was puzzled. He wanted to get some important news. He's a peerless overlord standing at the top of Huaxia. He's a nascent soul heavenly lord, just like a real deity. If they wanted to communicate, they could only do it on the clouds. How could they do it in the boundless secular world? Disregarding everything else, even a golden core cultivator could reach a height of 100 meters if he unleashed his Dharma idol slightly. Wouldn't the Kunlun building collapse? Another reporter laughed. Wait a minute. In the banquet hall, Jiang Tian and Zhang Yilin were strolling around and eating when suddenly Jiang Tian's arm was pulled by someone. Jiang Tian came back to his senses and saw Li Huiyan looking at him deeply. Her eyes were filled with panic and there were a few tears in them. At this moment, countless people looked at Jiang Tian with jealousy. Li Huiyan had always been clean and had never been involved in any scandals. But now, she had taken the initiative to grab a man's arm. Besides, the man's appearance and temperament were ordinary. What did he do? Is my art of creation really that bad? How did she recognize me? Jiang Tian thought to himself, but his face was calm. He smiled and said, Miss Li Huiyan, why are you looking for me? Deliberately, his voice became very dry and hoarse. I'm sorry. I mistook you for someone else. Your back is very similar to a friend of mine, including this lady. Li Huiyan smiled awkwardly but politely and said softly. Next to her, Li Huiyan's good sister, Tang Yuyu, who was in the same brokerage company, showed a little unbearable expression and sighed softly. Sister Huiyan, you miss him too much. But everyone said that he had died in. Nonsense. He won't die. Hearing this, Li Huiyan seemed to have been seriously stimulated. Her delicate body trembled slightly, and she stared at Tang Yuyu fiercely. Zhao Chenzi, who was almost middle-aged and more charming, said, You, don't you know that the first sister doesn't allow anyone to say that? Apologize. Sister Huiyan, don't be angry. I'm sorry. I'm talking nonsense. Tang Yu took a step back in fright. Li Huiyan eased his tone, but his expression was firm. I have a feeling that he is still alive. The next moment, she looked at Lu Yun outside the building in a daze and started sobbing silently. Seeing this, Zhao Chenzi couldn't help but sigh. After handing over a paper towel, he didn't dare to disturb. Since Jiang Tian left. In recent years, Li Huiyan's star road has been smooth. She has starred in several big Hollywood productions. She is known as the national goddess and one of the top female stars in the world. But it's a little emotional magic, almost sick. Every day, I miss Jiang Tian and collect all the news about him. At this time, Tang Yu suddenly exclaimed, No, Zhang Xiao of Kunlun Group is here. Hearing this, Li Huiyan and Zhao Chenzi's faces changed greatly. Jiang Tian also looked at it casually. Surrounded by a group of people, Zhang Kai, the eldest son of Kunlun Group, walked quickly. For example, Chen Xiong, the young director of Northern Wilderness Mining, and Lu Qingho, the young director of Qingyao Group, could only stand behind him as followers. Li Fifan, the crown prince of Xinzhou, and Mo Yuza, the head of Mo family in Yanjing, who had met Jiang Tian several times, could only stand at the end of the entourage. They were not even qualified to approach Zhang Kai. How could he appear here? Logically speaking, with his identity, he should go to the top floor. Everyone exclaimed. In any era, there was a clear distinction and a strict hierarchy. The party on the top floor was the high-end party. Those who participated were all nascent soul cultivators, masters of secret realms, masters of dojos, and so on. That was the top of the pyramid that controlled this era. Before, Zhang Kai went straight to the top floor and didn't come here. I'm afraid he's here for Li Huiyan? Suddenly, a gossip reporter thought of a rumor and instantly realized. He quickly raised his camera and shot. Chapter 1724. Li Xianlong has passed away and Li Fifan is the lord of the Li family. Mo Yuza is also the lord of the Mo family in Yanjin and has great influence in the mortal world. However, the two of them have joined the New Myth Alliance and Jeffrey. They are also close to the 5 heavenly lords and their henchmen in Huaxia. Seeing that Jiang Tian had noticed Zhang Kai and the others, Zhang Yilin hurried to explain. Oh! Jiang Tian nodded and didn't say anything. Zhang Kai's long black hair hung loosely on his shoulders, his figure was tall and healthy, and he had an imposing appearance. He walked over with a majestic gait, and his gaze was filled with might. He was releasing the energy of a golden core cultivator, which indicated that he was already a perfected cultivator. Everyone who attended the banquet bowed one after another when they saw this. This is Zhang Kai, the grandson of Zhang Huayan. He has formed an 8th grade golden core and has a high chance of becoming a nascent soul cultivator. He is also one of the most outstanding members of the Zhang family and the controller of the Kunlun building. Seeing Zhang Kai, Zhang Yilin showed a bit of resentment and said coldly, he has fought with the Tianqing school many times. Even Sister Mange was defeated by him. The Snow God Palace bought my videos and watched my live stream. He is also behind it. Jiang Tian nodded slightly. His eyes darkened as he looked at the gloomy sky outside the window. He didn't care about Zhang Kai at all. Meanwhile, Jiang Tian sipped his wine and waited for Ji Muxian and the other nascent soul heavenly lords to arrive. For him, the real battlefield was in heaven, not in this banquet. At that moment, Zhang Kai ignored the crowd and walked directly toward Li Huiyan. They didn't even have the right to be angry. He had a powerful background and was a golden core perfected cultivator. What was a rich man in the mortal world? He was like an ant. He could crush him easily. I heard that he likes Li Huiyan a lot. Li Huiyan is so lucky. She's just an actress and an ordinary person. How can she win young Master Zhang's attention? She's so lucky. Seeing him walk towards Li Huiyan, this scene caused a lot of discussion. Many people, especially women, were envious and jealous. Ms. Li, the Kunlun group has invested in the Spirit Chi revival movie, Great Lord of Heaven, and invited you to be the female lead. This is the 3rd time I've invited you. I don't think you'll refuse, right? Zhang Kai walked up to Li Huiyan and said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Well, it was said that the investment for that movie was as huge as 10 billion yuan. It was known as the biggest investment in history. So, Li Huiyan was invited for the lead role. It seems like she rejected it before? Li Huiyan is so lucky to be able to win Zhang Kai's favor and get the biggest blockbuster movie in history. The hottest movie theme right now is undoubtedly the revival of spiritual energy. In addition to the performances of true cultivators and true demonic beasts, it's simply too explosive. At the side, everyone's gazes were cast on Li Huiyan, as if they were about to spew fire. At this moment, Li Huiyan was tall with a pair of 120 centimeters long legs. Coupled with strappy high heels, she looked even taller and stood out from the crowd. Her exquisite makeup and otherworldly temperament instantly stole the limelight of everyone present. Sorry, I'm not interested. Everyone thought that Li Huiyan would agree. However, they didn't expect that she would refuse without hesitation. Her face was cold, and she kept people thousands of miles away. Everyone was puzzled and surprised, and even Tang Yuyu was stunned. Only Zhao Chunzi had some understanding in his heart, because this great Lord of Heaven alluded to reality very seriously, but it erased all of Jiang Tian's contributions to the revival of spiritual energy. After Li Huiyan read the script, she was furious. How could she participate in the performance? Zhang Kai's face stiffened, but he didn't speak. Li Huiyan, no one in Huaxia dares to not give face to my master again and again. Even if it's for my master's sake, you'll be fine. But your colleagues, friends, and even your agency may not be fine. Behind him, an old man in sackcloth walked out and said threateningly, "Are you threatening me?" Li Huiyan's face was unhappy as she snorted. So what if I'm threatening you? The old servant in sackcloth said proudly. He was a member of the dragon-slaying Zhang family. Even if he was just a servant, he didn't care about worldly people. Even if it was a superstar or a tycoon, they were nothing but ants in front of a cultivator. Do you know that I'm already at the foundation establishment level now? Killing you is as easy as killing a chicken. Suddenly, he released his energy and pressure. He originally had chicken skin and a crane head. His figure was stooped, and he looked old and ordinary. But all of a sudden, he gave people the feeling that he was a towering mountain. The pressure that came from him filled 100 meters, suffocating everyone and making them shudder with fear. Sky immortals are terrifying. Everyone was shocked and stepped back. At this time, the old servant in sackcloth's eyes shone and his true essence surged like a wave. He was apparently an overlord at the third level of the foundation establishment level. The third level of the foundation establishment level was called Sky Immortal, before the revival of spiritual energy. When the immortal entrapment array existed on Earth, Sky Immortal was the limit of cultivation and the peak of martial arts. Otherwise, they would trigger the immortal entrapment array and die without a doubt. Back then, the great celestial Yi was still a hair's breadth away from this realm, not completely reaching it. Although there were many more foundation establishment cultivators after the revival of spirit Qi, a Sky Immortal was still not to be underestimated. They were usually the overlords of a city in Huaxia. However, the old man in sackcloth, a Sky Immortal, was just a servant in front of Zhang Kai. Ah, the dragon-slaying Zhang family is too terrifying. I heard that they used to be members of the insects in the secret land and have 1,000 years of foundation. They also have the support and guidance of the Beidou cultivators. No one can stop them now. An immortal state overlord exclaimed. Li Huiyan might not give in. She's Kong Teichu's friend. But there were also people who thought otherwise. Then, a young man who was talking to other tycoons noticed this and quickly walked over. Jiang Tian knew him. Bai Chufei. He used to be one of the 4 young masters in Yangcheng. Later, he followed Jiang Tian and was also the chairman of Tiange Entertainment and Li Huiyan's boss. Bai Chufei, who was already middle-aged and appeared even more resolute and steady, revealed a somewhat angry expression. He asked coldly, Li Huiyan and Tiange Entertainment are under the protection of Tianqing sect. Your Excellency, are you threatening them in public because you want to start a war with Tianqing sect? Humph. The old man in sackcloth said disdainfully, Bai Chufei, since we're old acquaintances, I'll remind you. Now, Huaxia is no longer the world of Tianqing School. After today, all the dojos of Tianqing School will change owners and withdraw from Huaxia. Also, Lord Jeffrey of the Myth Alliance will also force Tianqing School to kill demons and sign the agreement. If they don't obey, they will be trampled to death. A gentleman doesn't stand under a dangerous wall. Tianqing School can't do it, but you still cling to their thighs and resist the Dragon Slayer Zhang family. Do you want to live too long? He just snorted, and Bai Chufei seemed to have been hit hard. His face was pale, and he stumbled back a few steps. Boss, are you okay? Zhao Chunzi and Tang Yuyu hurriedly supported him, only to see that his 7 orifices were bleeding. It was a shocking sight. At that moment, the old servant in sackcloth had already used his spiritual awareness to seriously injure Bai Chufei. Bai Chufei had also cultivated, but he was just an ordinary qi refining cultivator. There was still a big gap between him and the old servant in sackcloth who was in the Zhuji phase. It was like a 3-year-old child meeting an adult giant. Vulnerable. The old servant in sackcloth showed a sarcastic smile, then slightly leaned to the side, made a please gesture, and said with a smile, Please, Miss Li, don't embarrass the old man, and don't let young Master Zhang wait for a long time. Huiyan, don't go. Bai Chufei struggled to get up, but he immediately vomited blood and his body was on the verge of collapse. He had just been hit hard by the old servant in sackcloth, and standing up was already his limit. Li Huiyan stood there alone, as if there was nothing she could do, and she could only accept her fate. The people between Li Huiyan and Zhang Kai all avoided and tried to curry favor with the Zhang family. No one dared to help Li Huiyan and Bai Choufei. Behind Zhang Kai stood the dragon slayer Zhang family, a nascent soul great lord of heaven. Who dared to provoke him? Tang Yuyu was so anxious that her eyes were red, and she was about to cry. Zhao Qinzi sighed, but there was nothing he could do. Just as Li Huiyan slowly raised her head and was about to refute, next to her, a light and leisurely voice suddenly came. Huiyan told you to get out. Get out of here quickly. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Are you looking for death? Chapter 1725. Everyone fell silent. The entire place was deathly silent. Countless people couldn't even make the slightest sound. Countless people looked at the source of the voice. A young man in an old robe was swirling a glass of red wine. This young man had gray hair and an ordinary face, like a drop of water in the sea. No one would notice him. Who is this? How dare he go against the Zhang family? Does he want to die? In an instant, the same thought appeared in many people's minds, as if they were looking at a short-lived ghost. Aunt, do you know that there are some things you can't interfere with? The hemp-clothed old servant laughed proudly with his hands behind his back. He was a dog that relied on its master's power. He was deliberately imitating Jiang Tian's movements and posture. Even though he was a member of the hidden sects, he had paid close attention to Jiang Tian back when he dominated the entire world and suppressed the various multidimensional worlds in the solar system. Jiang Tian had still left a deep impression on him, making him revere him and wish that he could be in Jiang Tian's place. However, his imitation was always a bit deliberate. Without Jiang Tian's experience, he was like a 3-year-old child pretending to be an adult. He was petty and ignorant, trying to be a tiger but ended up being a dog. This was probably his current state. Dog slave, who do you think you are? Even your ancestral patriarch Zhang Huairan doesn't have the right to be so arrogant in front of me. Jiang Tian walked over leisurely and sneered. Everyone dispersed as if they were avoiding the plague, and they opened up a path for him. They all looked at Jiang Tian with gazes of surprise, pity, and bewilderment. Where did this idiot come from? How dare he challenge the dignity of the Zhang family? Was there something wrong with his head? You're courting death. Zhang Kai was furious and his eyes were full of murderous intent. In his heart, Patriarch Zhang Huairan was an existence akin to a Buddha. How could he allow others to blaspheme him? At this moment, he wanted to kill Jiang Tian on the spot. But he still held it in. The purpose of this exchange event was to deal with Tianqing School. It wasn't good to complicate things. Of course, he wouldn't really let Jiang Tian go. When Jiang Tian was alone, he could naturally make a move. For you. The old man carefully sized up Jiang Tian and suddenly felt that Jiang Tian was very familiar. You are not worthy of me answering your question. Jiang Tian continued to walk closer. The old man scanned Jiang Tian with his divine sense, only to find that Jiang Tian's body was empty, no different from a mortal's. His eyes were filled with contempt as he said coldly, if it weren't for young Master Zhang, there wouldn't be any accidents today. I'll definitely twist off your head and kick it like a ball. With that, he ignored Jiang Tian completely. He stared at Li Huiyan with a pair of sharp and cold eyes and said in a serious tone, Miss Li, how long are you going to keep young Master Zhang waiting? It was a clear threat. Your arrogance and confidence is really like him. Unfortunately, you're not him, and you don't have his abilities. No one in this world can save me. Li Huiyan withdrew her gaze from Jiang Tian. Her eyes were filled with despair as she sighed regretfully. Zhang Kai couldn't wait any longer. He looked at the time and said leisurely, I'll go up first. Linen, remember to take her to the top floor. With that, he turned around and was about to leave. Li Huiyan, you're shameless. Don't blame this old man for offending you. The old man in linen had finally lost his patience. His face was ferocious and his eyes were cold. He stretched out his right hand and grabbed at Li Huiyan's neck like an eagle's claw. Sizzle! Sizzle! The air was filled with the sound of his claw. That claw could pierce through gold and iron. If it hit, even an immortal state overlord would not be able to withstand it, let alone an ordinary person like Li Huiyan. Although Li Huiyan had a protective talisman, she could not withstand the attack of a sky immortal. Countless people felt a chill down their spines when they saw this. Sigh, the cultivation world is like a primitive jungle. The strong are respected and the weak are like ants. Li Huiyuan's backer is Kong Teichu, but now that she has lost her backer, what can she do? She used to be powerful with Kong Teichu's help and no one in the world dared to offend her. Now that Kong Teichu is gone, she's not even worth mentioning. She doesn't know what's good for her. Looks like Zhang Kai only sees her as a toy. Even if he doesn't destroy her, he will definitely humiliate her. At this moment, everyone's expression was different. Some sighed regretfully, some mocked and some gloated. Do you think I'm joking? Right at this moment, everyone saw the gray-haired youth actually take another step forward, and they couldn't help but reveal strange expressions. This person was courting death again and again. I said, get lost. Jiang Tiantian's words were very calm, but to the elder in the linen robe, it was like a clap of thunder. Dragon demonic roar. Jiang Tian had activated this divine power when he was at the Qi refinement stage. However, Jiang Tian was now a nascent soul heavenly lord and a divine-grade nascent soul. When he used this divine power, it was more than 100 times more powerful than before. The old man in linen was startled. He felt as if 10,000 cannonballs had exploded in his ears. The sound waves were mixed with terrifying true essence and blasted into his ears, nose, mouth, and organs. His body shook violently and blood spurted out from his nose, nose and mouth like arrows. But the next second, he knew that it was an understatement to call it a cannonball. The horrifying Jin Yuan vibrated once again, and the old man's skin rippled like water as horrifying cracks appeared all over his skin. Then his muscle fibers floated up like silk, and finally his body exploded, turning into a mass of blood mist that filled the air. What? The power of his words is terrifying. Everyone was baffled, and their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Jiang Tian's sound wave attack was only aimed at the old man in linen. It was like a high-pressure water gun that didn't leak at all. In everyone's eyes, Jiang Tian had only said one sentence calmly and the old man in linen, a third-level foundation establishment sky immortal, exploded in the air. HM? A sound wave attack. A cultivator? Only Zhang Kai's expression changed abruptly as he stared at Jiang Tian with a pair of eyes that were as sharp as swords. So it's a cultivator who uses sound wave attacks? He actually killed a third-level nascent soul celestial immortal so casually. Is he a golden core perfected cultivator? Only when they heard this did everyone realize that all of this was done by Jiang Tian, and they couldn't help but gasp as they were extremely shocked. He's so handsome, and he's a very powerful cultivator. Perfect. Tang Yuyu stared at Jiang Tian with her beautiful eyes full of worship. She couldn't wait to throw herself into Jiang Tian's arms. Who is this person? Although he has good intentions, he's too reckless. Zhao Chenzi was a little worried. It's him. It must be him. It's Jiang Tian. A person's appearance can be changed, but habitual movements and temperament are difficult to change. At this time, Li Huiyan looked at Jiang Tian carefully and suddenly understood. Her heart was filled with excitement and moved, and her beautiful eyes were filled with tears. Chapter 1726. Li Huiyan was a professional actress who had learned micro-expressions from a specially hired teacher. She could tell whether a person was real or not based on their micro-expressions, movements, and behavior. Veterans don't even need to see you in person. They can recognize you just by looking at your back. When Li Huiyan first saw him, she also felt that he was similar to Jiang Tian, but he wasn't Jiang Tian. He was much older than Jiang Tian. However, she found that he was exactly the same as Jiang Tian, except that he was taller and had white hair. The distance of his footsteps, the way he walked and the way he held his hands behind his back were almost identical to Jiang Tian. She was sure that he was Jiang Tian, but she didn't say anything. She knew that Jiang Tian wasn't an ordinary person. Every word and action of his contained deep meaning. Since he had changed his appearance and concealed his identity, he must have his reasons. Naturally, she couldn't expose him. Do you think the Golden Core Cultivator is qualified to challenge the dragon-slaying Zhang family? You should know that he is backed by a nascent soul heavenly lord. Ah, he's a talented person since he can reach the Golden Core level. However, he didn't know how terrifying the background of the Zhang clan was. What he did is like hitting a stone with an egg. Jiang Tian killed with a single sentence, shocking everyone present. But more people didn't think so. The dragon-slaying Zhang family was one of the top forces in Huaxia and had more than one nascent soul heavenly lord. Even if they weren't afraid of Zhang Kai, they still had to show some respect to the dragon-slaying Zhang family. However, Jiang Tian had killed Zhang Kai's personal servant just because of a disagreement. That was undoubtedly a slap in the face. How could he tolerate it? As expected, soon, Zhang Kai's face became cold. The murderous intent in his eyes was as sharp as a sword. He stared at Jiang Tian and said, "Who are you? Don't you know the name of the dragon-slaying Zhang family?" The dragon-slaying Zhang family? Jiang Tian smiled and said disdainfully, "How dare you use this name to scare people? You should feel ashamed. What sins did Ao Bing of Dragonpool's lineage commit for you to kill him? He's a demon. He should be killed." Zhang Kai said matter-of-factly, "How dare you speak up for the demon race? Don't you know that the Global Mythological Alliance has already listed the shifters as a must-kill? The Big Dipper Righteous Alliance has also declared war on the shifters. It was common knowledge that the demon clan was the greatest enemy of the human clan. If word of this gets out, you'll definitely die. You're courting death. If word of this gets out, the human cultivators will gang up on you and tear you to pieces." The other cultivators also looked at Jiang Tian with mocking expressions. "Demons should be killed?" Jiang Tian said indifferently, "Let me ask you." When the cultivators from the ruins of immortality landed on Mars and began to march to Earth, Ao Bing's bloodline, Alexander's bloodline, and the mermen of the Bermuda Delta all fought. Where were you at that time? Zhang Kai was dumbfounded, speechless. That day, when the Divine General led the expedition to the ruins of immortality to Mars and was about to attack Earth, the Myth Alliance and Zhao Xueqing had issued a call for all cultivators above the Golden Core level to participate in the battle on Mars. In fact, the Zhang family was also paying attention at that time. However, they were all selfish and didn't want to get into trouble with the ruins of immortality, so they all hid. It could be said that the Zhang family didn't make any contributions in the battle of the ruins of immortality. On the contrary, many demons were able to withstand the harsh environment because of their special bloodlines and physiques, so they shone in the battle on Mars. Ao Bing even killed more than 20 nascent soul cultivators in a row. It could be said that his contribution was great. But in the end, because of the manipulation of the Righteous Alliance, the Dragon Pool Demon King Ao Bing and all the demons on Earth became the target of public criticism. They were surrounded and killed by many forces. Their entire family died tragically. The Zhang clan had actually taken over the nest of a magpie and occupied the Dragon Lake. They had even shamelessly given themselves the title of the Dragon Slayer clan. Let me ask you again. Since the establishment of the Myth Alliance, have the demons on Earth hurt any human? Have they bullied the weak? Jiang Tian took another step forward and asked coldly. Well, everyone, including Zhang Kai, was surprised again. After the establishment of the Myth Alliance, the demons had regarded the declaration of the Myth Alliance as a standard and had indeed not killed any human. Even when the violent demon beasts invaded the cities, the demons had already stood on the side of humans and fought to the end. In those 2 years, more than tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of demons had died in battle to protect humans. But you, Jiang Tian took another step forward and mocked. Some so-called humans have long forgotten the oath spread when the Myth Alliance was established. The strong fight for the weak. All the creatures on Earth are a community with a shared future. You are heartless and vicious. You have attacked your comrades. You have disregarded human lives and bullied the weak. You have turned a vigorous and orderly society into hell and a primitive jungle. You are not as good as the demons. With every sentence Jiang Tian said, he took a step forward. After a few sentences, he had already walked to the center of the field and faced Zhang Kai, looking down at him as if he were an ant. How dare you speak for the demons? You are a traitor to humanity. Zhang Kai did not want to argue. His murderous intent was exposed as he coldly said, "I'll kill you to tell the world what the consequences of colluding with the demons are." Zhang Kai pointed at the vast sky outside the window and said aggressively, "This place is too narrow. Let's go. This place is too narrow and restricts our movements. If you have the guts, then come with me to that vast world and fight to your heart's content." But are they going to fight this time? The old man in a linen robe killed a Foundation establishment sky immortal with a snap of his fingers. It's rare to see a battle between two golden core perfected cultivators. Broadcast it. When they saw Jiang Tian and the old man in a linen robe fighting, many reporters immediately swarmed over like flies smelling blood. Those who watched the live stream also started to do so, which attracted countless netizens. This exchange meeting had already attracted a lot of attention. There were many people watching it in the venue and even in the live stream rooms. Now, there was another conflict, and it was related to Li Huiyan and the dragon-slaying Zhang family. It instantly set off a huge wave. All the netizens on the internet rushed to the live broadcast room. What? Someone is challenging the dragon-slaying Zhang clan's young master Zhang Kai for Li Huiyan? Tell me who's there. Who's streaming? I want to see it. In the camera, Jiang Tian was wearing a long robe and a pair of sunglasses. He was surrounded by Li Huiyan and a few other national goddesses. He stepped on the old man's blood-stained head and faced Zhang Kai, the young master of the Zhang family. It was indeed eye-catching. When people heard that Zhang Kai had challenged Jiang Tian, the audience, as well as all the live stream rooms, fell silent. Even the bullet screen disappeared. Everyone's expression changed as they looked at Jiang Tian, anticipating his strong reaction. Chapter 1727. I'm not going. To everyone's surprise, Jiang Tian shook his head. For a moment, both the audience and the audience in front of the screen were disappointed. You're quite sharp-tongued. Zhang Kai's face was full of ridicule as he said disdainfully, but what's the use of having a sharp tongue? Unfortunately, that's all you can do. At that time, that Shen Mange was also sharp-tongued, but she was still captured by me. I beat her until her little face was split open, and she couldn't scream anymore. As soon as he said that, coldness appeared in Jiang Tian's eyes. He didn't dare to provoke Brother Zhang. That's a wise move. At this moment, behind Zhang Kai, another young man laughed complacently. Who dares to provoke the 5 heavenly lords of the human race? Not to mention him, even the Tianqing sect wouldn't dare. He was Qi Zhuoran, the young master of the Qi Jinglei family, one of the 5 heavenly lord families. He had a good relationship with Zhang Kai. At this moment, he had to speak up for Zhang Kai. When I destroyed the Tianqing school's Diansang Daoist sect, the Tianqing school didn't dare to say a word. Tianqing school can't survive in Huaxia anymore. They can only swallow their anger. Jiang Tian's eyes darkened. Tsing Xian from the Ting-Ilong family, another heavenly lord family, also laughed. That's right, this guy can only bully Foundation establishment cultivators. He's a golden core perfected cultivator like Brother Zhang Kai. He raised his chin but did not look at Jiang Tian at all. Instead, he stared at Tang Yuyu behind him and said, "You're a peak stage Foundation establishment cultivator. Apologize to Brother Zhang Kai now and we'll let you go. Also, let those small celebrities drink with us. This is the end of this matter." Just when everyone thought that Jiang Tian was going to beg for mercy, Zhang Kai waved his sleeves and stood with his hands behind his back, smiling smugly. "I said I won't go out, but I didn't say I'll let you go. However," Jiang Tian said leisurely, "what I mean is, killing you is just a flick of my sleeve. Why do we need to go out?" "What did you say?" In an instant, Zhang Kai's face flickered with both shock and anger. "You're courting death." His body bent like a bow and shot out, punching toward Jiang Tian. In his rage, although he did not use his Dharma form, he had used all of his strength in this punch. His immortal qi exploded in all directions, filling up a radius of 3 meters. In this small space, the space suddenly shattered, like the center of a nuclear explosion. Be careful! Li Huiyan, Tang Yuyu, Zhao Chunzi, and Bai Choufei all cried out in alarm. Except for Li Huiyan, the three of them didn't see through Jiang Tian's identity. They only thought that he was a rogue cultivator who spoke up for justice. Since they couldn't figure out Jiang Tian's cultivation, they were naturally worried. Even though Li Huiyan guessed that it was Jiang Tian, she didn't have much confidence. Jiang Tian had killed golden core cultivators before, but they were all ordinary golden core cultivators. And Zhang Kai was rumored to have an 8th grade golden core, comparable to an ordinary nascent soul cultivator. Another reckless cannon fodder. Only Zhang Yilin watched from afar with a mocking smile. Get out! Jiang Tian didn't even look at Zhang Kai. He just waved his sleeve casually. No one felt anything strange from Jiang Tian's wave of his sleeve. But the result was extremely horrifying. There was a muffled bang. Zhang Kai was instantly smashed into pieces. A rain of crystal-clear flesh and broken bones sprinkled down. Even his dantian and golden core that were said to be indestructible were instantly turned into a bloody mist and powder. His thin and ethereal soul was just about to flee when Jiang Tian raised his hand and pulled it towards him. If there was still some blood on the ground, people would even think that Zhang Kai had never appeared at the meeting that night. Hiss! Is he dead? Zhang Kai, the young master of the dragon-slaying Zhang family, was killed by him. How dare he kill Zhang Kai? Isn't he afraid of the revenge of the dragon-slaying Zhang family? Oh my god! That's the dragon-slaying Zhang family. The power of his sleeve is terrifying. For a moment, there was an uproar. Everyone was so scared that their legs turned to jelly and they stepped back. Everyone was stunned and couldn't believe it. They looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a demon. What the fuck? Especially Qi Zhuoran and Zheng Xian, who were completely dumbfounded. They had never thought that such a situation would happen. Zhang Kai, the elite disciple of the dragon-slaying Zhang family, who had an 8th grade golden core and had reached the late stage, was killed by an inexplicable rogue cultivator. This was simply like a fantasy story, causing people to feel disbelief. This guy is very powerful. He is at least in the golden core stage, and I'm afraid he is at the late stage of the golden core stage. Zheng Xian's face was pale, and he was terrified to the extreme. He staggered back like a stray dog, and he wished for nothing more than to run away. He was only an early-stage golden core cultivator and the grade of his golden core was average. The difference between him and Zhang Kai was not just a little bit. Jiang Tian killed Zhang Kai with a wave of his sleeve. It would be easy for him to kill Zheng Xian. We are in big trouble today. I'm afraid there will be a big fight. Qi Zhuoran said. Of course, he was powerful after killing Zhang Kai. But Zhang Kai had a nascent soul heavenly lord behind him. Was this kid not afraid of death? At this moment, Mo Yuza, who was in the crowd, suddenly panicked and said in a low voice, Li Fifan, don't you think this person looks like Jiang Taichu? Li Fifan's face also darkened. If Kang Taichu returned, those who had betrayed Jiang Tian and followed the 5 new heavenly lords would be punished. They would be doomed. It can't be him. He just looks a bit like him. Li Fifan clenched his fists and encouraged himself. He was only a golden core cultivator when he left. I heard that a golden core cultivator couldn't travel across the galaxy. He must have died in the universe or in the ruins of deity. Meanwhile, the scene had been broadcast to every corner of the world through various live-streaming software and media. Billions of people on the internet witnessed it. It was the center of attention. The glorious return of a peerless overlord. However, they still didn't know that the man with white hair and sunglasses was Jiang Tian. Oh my god. He killed Zhang Kai, the prodigy of the dragon-slaying Zhang family. This kid is way too strong. What level is he at? I didn't see his dantian vibrating, golden core roaring, or dharma form. But he must be at least a golden core perfected cultivator to kill an 8th grade golden core cultivator. Yes. Cultivation level is not important to him now. If he can kill Zhang Kai, It means he is at least a golden core perfected cultivator. A golden core perfected cultivator? I'm afraid it's more than that. Even a peak stage golden core cultivator wouldn't be able to kill a peak stage golden core cultivator. If their power was similar, the battle would be in a stalemate and they would have to fight for 300 rounds. However, this person in front of him had destroyed his opponent's soul with just a casual wave of his sleeve. This was clearly a one-hit kill of a crushing level. He must be a nascent soul heavenly lord. In a blink, the entire internet was in an uproar. It was as if a pot of ice water had been poured into a pot of hot oil. No one could remain calm. They were all incredibly shocked, unable to overlook this matter. They were all discussing and guessing Jiang Tian's strength and identity. A nascent soul heavenly lord. No wonder he dared to provoke the dragon-slaying Zhang family. He's a nascent soul heavenly lord. Who's he? Why haven't I seen him before? A nascent soul heavenly lord has appeared in Huaxia. When they realized that Jiang Tian might be a nascent soul heavenly lord, the internet was even more shocked. This news was like a hurricane that swept across the internet and the real world. It set off huge waves and no one could remain calm. Countless netizens were dumbfounded. They stared at Jiang Tian as if flowers had bloomed on his face. Everyone was shocked, frightened, admiring and admiring. They didn't want to look away anymore. Chapter 1728. Even with the support and guidance of the Beidou cultivators on Earth, no one had entered the soul formation level yet. The nascent soul cultivators were the dominators among the natives on Earth. At the moment, there were only a few hundred natives on Earth who had reached the nascent soul level. They were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. They were all ancestral patriarchs at the top of the pyramid of power, dominating a country or a sect. Compared to golden core overlords, nascent soul cultivators were worlds apart. Once they entered the nascent soul level, they would be in charge of their own lives and would be called heavenly lords. Their power would be in harmony with Dharma laws and they would be in harmony with the world, controlling the laws and forming a forbidden area. That man slapped Zhang Kai to death. I'm afraid it's just a prelude. I'm afraid he's going to declare war on the Zhang family and the new guardians of Huaxia. But who was this person? He does look like the alliance master of the Taichu sect. Is he his disciple? Zhang Shisan, a loyal fan of Jiang Tian, yelled excitedly in front of the screen. Wow, that white-haired heavenly lord is so handsome. It gave people a feeling of vicissitudes of life, and it reminded me of an old song. Your hair is like snow, sad and beautiful as we part. I burn incense, who have I touched? I wonder how handsome he would be if he took off his sunglasses. I'm completely fascinated by him. Fans of Jiang Tian appeared everywhere on the livestream, Weibo, Douyin and headlines. Many girls were immediately attracted to Jiang Tian and were impressed by Jiang Tian's power when he slapped Zhang Kai to death. Some people even formed the white-haired Heavenly Lord fan club and snow-haired fan club. However, there were also some old and wise people who shook their heads when they saw this. It's useless. That white-haired Heavenly Lord is only a nascent soul cultivator. The Zhang family alone has more than one nascent soul cultivator and several Heavenly Lords. The 5 supreme Heavenly Lord families are working together to control the cultivation world in Huaxia. That white-haired Heavenly Lord offended one of the 5 supreme Heavenly Lord families. How can he be a match for them? The development of the situation also confirmed their speculation. At this moment, the people of the Zhang clan also began to report the great change that had occurred. Report it to the dragon-slaying Zhang family, and even the Huaxia Guardians Alliance and the Myth Alliance. After all, this event seemed to be hosted by the Zhang family and the Guardians of Huaxia, but it was actually controlled by the Myth Alliance. They were even following the orders of the Big Dipper Righteous Alliance. His goal was to gradually weaken Jiang Tian's influence and compress Tianqing School's living space until it was completely uprooted. Now that there was such a huge change in the exchange gathering, the person in charge of the scene naturally didn't dare to be negligent and reported it to the higher-ups. Hundreds of miles away from the Gold City, a luxurious flying boat, which was about 1,000 feet long, was emitting a dazzling light that illuminated the layers of leaden clouds. It was flying towards the Gold City at lightning speed. The interior of the cabin was luxuriously furnished. There were all sorts of spirit-gathering arrays, temperature-controlling arrays, defensive arrays, and soundproofing arrays. Any random decoration was a spirit treasure or true artifact. Moreover, they came from the Big Dipper Righteous Alliance. Their magic power fluctuations were extremely strong and priceless. If he took it out, he would definitely be beaten to a pulp by cultivators. In the most spacious cabin, a few nascent soul stage cultivators were sitting cross-legged, discussing with solemn expressions. Originally, the 3 nascent soul stage elders of the Snow God Palace, as well as Kai Shaochen and other disciples, came to the Zhang Jinghua family in Beijing to buy my live broadcast platform, but suddenly, we lost contact. We rushed to the scene overnight, but there was no trace of the Zhang family. According to the surrounding people, it seems that a nascent soul stage cultivator had made a move, and the battle was earth-shattering. Yang Chen, the palace master of the Snow God Palace and one of the 5 most powerful cultivators in China, said in a deep voice as his eyes shone brightly. He looked like he was only in his 40s, wearing a jade-colored Taoist robe, but his eyes were incomparably weathered, as if he had experienced the changes of the world and was used to the mortal world, proving that he wasn't as young as he looked. In particular, his face gave an extremely cold and gloomy feeling. Around him, there were also ice and snow laws surrounding him, forming snowflakes, ice crystals, glaciers, and other phenomena. Obviously, the laws were very condensed and formed a forbidden area, and it was getting stronger over time, indicating that this person had reached the peak of the nascent soul stage. That's strange. Not to mention Kai Shaochen, the 3 nascent soul elders who we lost contact with are all disciples of the Beihan sect. Their bloodlines have merged and they're living in other people's bodies. Their Dharma power is earth-shattering, and they're comparable to us. Besides, they're all equipped with supreme-grade Taoist artifacts. Even if we wanted to kill them, we wouldn't dare to fight them head-on. Who can kill them? Besides, we didn't receive any information back then because we blocked immortal will communication. Apparently, the person who did it must be a nascent soul heavenly lord. Qi Jinglei, the person in charge of the Wuya arena, said in a deep voice. Qi Jinglei was skinny, but his energy was as deep as the ocean and as tall as a mountain, giving people a feeling that it was boundless. Qi Jinglei used to be the owner of a famous secret land of the Yin sect. However, after he met the cultivators of the Beidu sect, he was immediately shocked and felt inferior. He changed his sect name and changed it to the Boundless Dao sect. He became the Boundless Dao sect's representative and training organization on Earth. He abandoned the ancestral tablets of his ancestors and claimed to be the grand disciple of the Boundless Dao sect's sect master. He was immensely pleased with himself. Who is it? Is it someone from the Tianqing school? Huang Linger is missing and the other nascent soul cultivators haven't recovered yet. They can't do anything. Zhang Huairan, the leader of the Zhang family, frowned and said. He looked to be in his 60s with white hair, triangular eyes, and an aquiline nose. He gave people the feeling that he was an ambitious and cunning old fox. His eyes flickered as his eyeballs rolled. He rubbed his chin and muttered to himself, "That's right." What's more terrifying is that I also received a piece of news. A few hours after the incident at the Snow God's Palace, all the members of the Beidu sect at the Langyi Academy were killed, including Divine Prince Qianlong. The old man suspects that the 2 incidents were done by the same person. What? Divine Prince Qianlong was also killed? How is that possible? Who did it? Is there a conflict within the Beidu sect? Everyone was shocked and exclaimed in surprise. Because they thought that no one on earth could kill Divine Prince Qianlong, it can't be the same person. Sung Yilong, the owner of the Desolation Temple, said coldly, even a peak-stage soul formation cultivator would need at least a day to travel from Yanjin to the Langyi Academy. How could this person do it? Unless he's a void-returned saint. Now that they had become the lackeys of the Big Dipper Righteous Alliance, they had learned that there were void return and Dao reunion cultivators above the soul formation cultivators. More importantly, How did Zhang Yilin find the Dharma artifact? What a headache. Ji Muxian, the leader of the Huaxia Guardians and the current sect master of the Kunlun sect, shook his head and heaved a sigh. I heard that Han Ming Zongzi has heard about it and he's furious. He ordered us to kill Zhang Yilin and destroy the Tianqing school as soon as possible. So what if she's dead? The Tianqing school is just an ant. Zhang Yilin didn't know what was good for her and had to release the Dharma artifact. Zhang Huairan sneered. If she hadn't, Han Ming Zongzi would have tried to appease her. He would have used decades or even centuries to turn Earth into the world of the Beihan sect and other sects. And the Tianqing school would have at least 20 to 30 years to survive. Since she has announced it, there's no need for Han Ming Zongzi to pretend anymore. Just kill her. She really doesn't know what's good for her. Qi Jinglei also sneered. We humans on Earth are just ants and caterpillars. We're too inferior. Even if it's an invasion, it's still a blessing for Earth. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for evolution. We should welcome them with open arms. The people on Earth are too stupid. They want to relocate and cherish what they have. Qi Jinglei shook his head with disdain as if he were the only one who was sober. He shook his head and said, they're always clinging to the idea of territory and country. They don't know the vastness of the universe and the vastness of the universe. They don't know that once their cultivation level increases, the entire universe will be at their disposal. They definitely won't be willing to give up Earth and let the cultivators of the Beihan sect come. They're full of hatred. It's because of Han Ming Zongzi's wisdom. He had already anticipated this. That's why he allowed the Beidou monsters to invade Earth to train the humans. At the same time, it would make it easier for the Northern Frost sect and the Alliance of Justice and Order to descend on Earth. What's the big deal about sacrificing a few 100,000 people for the overall improvement of the cultivation civilization on Earth? This is the reform, the revolution. Ji Muxian nodded in agreement and sighed with emotion. Since ancient times, there have always been people who shed blood and sacrifice. Let's start with us. Wasn't it normal for all human beings to shed blood and sacrifice in the great process of evolution and sublimation? Some people are just short-sighted, just like village women. At this moment, a golden core cultivator quickly walked over and said in a deep voice, Zhang clan head, I have some unfortunate news. Chapter 1729. Who dares to make trouble at the Zhang family's banquet? You're looking for death. Zhang Huairan was furious after hearing that. In addition to the pain of his grandson's death, he was also furious that his dignity had been offended. After all, everyone in the cultivation world knew that the Zhang family was behind the Kunlun building and Zhang Kai. Killing Zhang Kai in the Kunlun building, the home of the Zhang family, was equivalent to disrespecting the dragon-slaying Zhang family. I suspect that this person is likely to be related to the Zhang family in Yanjing and the Langyi Academy. Ji Muxian's eyes flashed coldly and he ordered coldly, full speed ahead. Brothers, don't be merciful. Just kill him. If we really kill the main culprit, he'll definitely die. We can also explain to Han Ming Zongzi. As soon as he said that, yes, Alliance Master. Several nascent soul heavenly lords present were full of killing intent and their eyes flashed with a sinister cold light. Zhang Kai was killed by Jiang Tian with a wave of his sleeve. At that moment, everyone was shocked. At this moment, Bai Qiufei was full of worry. The white-haired heavenly lord killed Zhang Kai, the young master of the Zhang family, which was equivalent to igniting a barrel of gunpowder. It was bound to lead to the bloody revenge of the Zhang family. Thinking of this, Bai Qiufei walked quickly and bowed deeply. He said respectfully and eagerly in a low voice, "Thank you for your help, Senior Heavenly Lord. But you can't stay here for a long time. You'd better leave quickly." Tang Yuyu was also worried. Zhao Chenzi didn't say anything and looked complicated. But in her heart, she was thinking that if this boy escaped to a faraway place, the Zhang family would probably put this blood debt on Li Huiyin's head. What should she do then? It was better to let him stay and take all the blame. However, she couldn't bring herself to say such selfish words. After all, a few young masters had already set the flames of war on the three girls, and had the intention of taking her and Tang Yuyu away to play with them. Without Jiang Tian standing up for them, they would have become everything under their feet. Only Li Huyen stared at Jiang Tian affectionately. Her beautiful eyes were misty, and tears rolled down her cheeks. Her emotions were in turmoil, and she didn't want others to know. Zhang Yilin stood in the distance and sipped the red wine with relish, as if watching a good show. She sighed in her heart, Li Huyen's feelings for my cousin are really extraordinary. Even I, a woman, can't help but feel pity for her. It's a pity that my cousin is too frigid. He's been through thousands of flowers, but not a single leaf has tainted his body. What a waste of God's gift. Why should I leave? Jiang Tian's expression was indifferent. He actually pulled over a chair and sat down, assuming the posture of, I'm not leaving. He even picked up the plate of fruits and ate with relish. Wait, they'll have a large number of people? Hearing this, Bai Choufei's eyes were full of anxiety. Facing a nascent soul heavenly lord, he was cautious. Even though he kindly reminded Jiang Tian, he didn't dare to look down on him. Zhao Chenzi remained silent, but a hint of disdain flashed in her eyes. Why should I leave? Because you're in big trouble. The dragon-slaying Zhang family has several nascent soul heavenly lords, and their leader, Zhang Huairen, is a top nascent soul heavenly lord. Besides, they have the Kunlun sect, the guardians of Hua Xia, the Myth Alliance, and the Beihan sect behind them. What do you have to compete with them? No matter how powerful you are, you're just a nascent soul heavenly lord without any background. As the saying goes, 2 fists are no match for 4 hands. How can you be a match for them? Oh, I've been waiting for Zhang Huairen and Ji Muxian. Jiang Tian sipped the champagne and said with a smile, How can I leave halfway? He said matter-of-factly, when the 5 supreme heavenly lords come, I'll kill them all. When everyone heard this, whether it was the people at the scene or the audience in the live stream, they were all dumbfounded. They could not believe it. Is this white-haired heavenly lord crazy? He's too arrogant. No matter how powerful you are, you can't do it alone. How are you going to deal with the large group of people coming in person? Right, they might even be supported by the cultivators from outside the region. He's no match for them. Right, the white-haired heavenly lord is definitely no match for the 5 heavenly lords. But you're still young and there's still room for improvement. There's no need for you to fight them head-on. You should stay away from them and preserve your strength. Right, that's called strategic retreat. Where there's life, there's hope. All kinds of comments appeared on the screen. Some people sighed, some mocked, and some tried to persuade him. In everyone's eyes, Jiang Tian trying to fight the 5 heavenly lords head-on was like trying to hit a rock with an egg, like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. He was overestimating himself. After all, they had all seen how the 5 heavenly lords killed large beasts and dominated the world, even beyond the heavens. The power of the 5 heavenly lords had been deeply rooted in people's hearts. In everyone's opinion, the 5 heavenly lords were invincible. Bai Choufei sucked in a breath of cold air, his eyeballs almost popping out. He had never seen such a suicidal person. Zhao Chenzi also frowned and felt annoyed. How could this kid be so arrogant? He didn't even listen to any kind advice. Even Tang Yuyu, who had always been overwhelmed by Jiang Tian's divine might, frowned slightly. This white-robed heavenly monarch still dared to speak arrogantly when his life was at stake. Wasn't he being too arrogant? Ji Mingchuan, the Zongzi of the Kunlun sect, is here. While Zhao Chenzi and the others were thinking, a noise came from the door. He looked up and saw a handsome young man wearing a purple golden crown and a custom-made blue robe. His long hair reached his shoulders, and he had a pair of unruly eyes. His Taoist robe had been specially modified. It was not the traditional Taoist robe with wide sleeves. Instead, it was more slim-fitting, almost like a long robe. However, the front and back of the robe were embroidered with the patterns of Yin and Yang, Tai Chi, and the 9 palaces and 8 trigrams. Mingchuan Zongzi. Master Zongzi. Ji Mingchuan. It's him. He's so handsome. Countless tycoons and cultivators bowed to Qin Fan with even more respect than Zhang Kai. Even Qi Zhuan, Xing Xian, Li Fifan and Mo Yuza were like believers who had seen God. After the arrival of the Beidou star, Ji Muxian's family benefited the most among the cultivation forces in Huaxia. Among the younger generation, Ji Mingchuan was the most outstanding one. He had received personal guidance from Han Ming, the Zongzi of the Beihan sect. Within a year, he had entered the Golden Core level and reached the 9th grade Golden Core level. When he formed the nascent soul, he would be a nascent soul seed and would be called a quasi-heavenly lord. Zhang Kai, Qi Zhuan and Xing Xian all respected him and regarded him as their spiritual leader. If he had any orders, they would obey him without question. Zhang Kai is useless. He can't even beat an itinerant cultivator. Why doesn't he just die? Ji Mingchuan walked over and listened to everyone's reports. He was furious and cursed under his breath. The plan was to have the last competition with the Tianqing school to decide the ownership of the 100 Medicine Valley. After the competition, the Tianqing school would withdraw from Huaxia and Sidoni would be the only one left. Before they took action, Ji Mingchuan, who was the person in charge of this competition, had also instructed everyone not to cause unnecessary trouble and cause other conflicts. However, he had never thought that Zhang Kai would be killed for offending Li Huyen. Offending Li Huyen was not a big deal. The point was he was killed. This was too shameful. Standing 10 meters away from Jiang Tian, Ji Mingchuan was stunned for a moment. He also felt that Jiang Tian looked a little familiar, but he couldn't match him to anyone. He then shouted in a dignified manner, "I actually killed Zhang Kai, the eldest son of the dragon-slaying Zhang family. Do you want to become enemies with the China Guardians Alliance?" His shout was like a thunderclap that shook the cultivators present to the point their vital energy and blood roiled, and they almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The mortals stumbled backward. Under the violent pressure, many of them knelt down on the spot. This is the power of a 9th grade Golden Core. The power of a quasi-heavenly lord is too terrifying. Countless people cried out in their hearts. They felt as if they were facing a demon god when facing him. Their minds were shaken, and they felt uneasy. Their hearts were about to jump out of their throats. Wouldn't it have been better if you had left earlier? Now that we've attracted a fatal disaster, I'm afraid we can't leave even if we want to. Bai Qiufei, Zhao Qinzi and Tang Yuyu were all lamenting. Yes, so what? Jiang Tian's expression was calm as he leisurely spoke. This caused another uproar. Countless people were shocked. Ji Mingchuan was furious. He suppressed his anger and said, "Let go of Zhang Kai's divine soul. We can still discuss this." "What if I don't?" Jiang Tian withdrew Zhang Kai's faint and illusory soul and held it in his hand as if he was pinching a chick, then he sneered and replied with a question. Zhang Kai's divine soul was trembling, and he no longer had his original arrogance. He begged pitifully, "Senior white hair and sunglasses, please let me go. Brother Mingchuan, don't do it." Ji Mingchuan's eyes flashed fiercely. He stepped forward and his golden core trembled. The Dharma form formed by 9 swords appeared behind him. He said, "I'll kill you." "Ha, good. Come, try to kill me. You're far from being able to do that." Jiang Tian looked up to the sky and laughed. His laughter was filled with killing intent and disdain. Suddenly, his right hand spat out energy, and his magic power surged. Bang! There was a muffled sound. Zhang Kai's divine soul shattered and disappeared. That was the real meaning of death for a golden core perfected cultivator. In an instant, there was dead silence. The countless guests couldn't even make the slightest sound. Ji Mingchuan was furious after being ignored by Jiang Tian. His face twisted and his eyes were cold. He pointed at Jiang Tian and the others with his right hand and said, "You've successfully angered me. I, Ji Mingchuan, swear that you and your friends will die here." Bai Qiufei and the others were so frightened that their legs went soft. Tang Yuyu's face turned pale. Zhao Qinzi's face was filled with resentment as she said, "First sister, I originally thought that this person's cultivation was heaven-defying and that he might be worth relying on. I didn't expect him to be brainless. He seemed to be helping you, But he actually implicated you. Great, we're all going to be unlucky this time. Everyone thought that Ji Mingchuan's threat would scare Jiang Tian. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian was still completely calm, and he said indifferently, "I've already given you a chance. But why do you want to court death again and again? Master, why do you have to do it?" At this moment, a large black dog the size of a calf leaped out as if it had appeared out of thin air. The big black dog stood up like a human, with one paw on his waist and the other paw pointing at Ji Mingchuan. Saliva was dripping from his mouth as he said to Jiang Tian, "I haven't really eaten his 9th grade golden core. Give me a chance, I want to taste it." Everyone was stunned and their faces were filled with shock and disbelief. Chapter 1730. Originally, they were looking forward to the battle between Jiang Tian and Ji Mingchuan. Unexpectedly, a big black dog appeared out of nowhere and claimed that it would eat Ji Mingchuan's 9th grade golden core. That was too exciting. What was even more frightening was that from the words of this large black dog, he seemed to have really eaten quite a few golden pills. What kind of dog was that? Undoubtedly, it's a dog demon. This dog demon is so domineering. Big black dog, don't be too cool. How dare it claim that it ate Ji Mingchuan's golden core? I have faith in you, you're a dog with a bright future. I also want a dog like that, much more domineering than my husky. In fact, since the recovery of spirit chi, it was not rare for demonic beasts and demons to gain intelligence and speak human language. However, it was rare to see one as crazy as the big black dog. In an instant, all the live stream channels were flooded with comments. As soon as the large black dog appeared, he immediately attracted countless fans. This was especially true for some dog lovers. This big black dog is so annoying. It doesn't know its place, it's just a furry beast. How dare it provoke my brother Mingchuan? Kill it and make it into a dog meat hot pot. My brother Mingchuan is a true disciple of the North Frost sect. He has a 9th grade golden core and has already formed his nascent soul, the #1 genius of the younger generation in Huaxia. This dog is just a demonic beast. What right does it have to provoke him? Haven't most of the demonic beasts been killed and are not allowed to enter human cities? How can this demonic dog still enter? We have to kill it. You reckless dog. Stupid dog. You've offended the king of hell this time. Don't you know that my Chuan is an expert in hunting demonic beasts and has already killed 20 golden core demonic beasts? However, there were also those who objected and hated it. Most of these people were Ji Mingchuan's little fangirls and female fans, who cursed the big black dog and hated it to the core. Ji Mingchuan was good-looking to begin with, and he often did beast hunting live streams, so the amount of exposure he received was also very shocking. As a result, Ji Mingchuan's popularity in Huaxia was no less than that of popular celebrities and young hunks. Those fangirls were crazy about him. He had many more female fans than Jiang Tian at his peak, and his loyalty was also much higher. After all, Jiang Tian was the kind of person who worked hard. He was not good at and disdained to put on a show, create a persona, interact with fans, and so on. Of course, Ji Mingchuan was the most furious. Damn dog, what did you say? At this moment, Ji Mingchuan was so angry that his body trembled. His golden core vibrated and the 9 Dharma form swords jumped around. The sword chi was so dense that he almost lost his mind. Ji Mingchuan had obtained the inheritance of the Beihan sect and reached the level 9 golden core. He had already reached the nascent soul level and was known as the Son of God. His strength, in a word, was invincible under the nascent soul stage. Looking at Huaxia, even the leaders of the major cultivation sects and the aristocratic families would bow deeply to him, as if they were mortals meeting a god or commoners meeting an emperor. But a dog, a demon beast, actually said that it wanted to kill him and eat his golden core. At this moment, he wished that he could turn the dog into ashes to vent his anger. Bai Qiufei, Tang Yuyu, and Zhao Qinzi were all stunned. They were speechless and didn't know what to say. Jiang Tian nodded and said, "I'll give it to you." What? Preposterous. You've gone too far. Hearing this, Ji Mingchuan was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He didn't expect that he would agree. Didn't this mean that in the eyes of this white-haired heavenly lord, he was inferior to his dog? Ji Mingchuan felt very wronged at this moment. Ever since the arrival of the Big Dipper, the Ji family of Kunlun had been lucky. Ji Mingchuan, on the other hand, was as powerful as a dragon. Jiang Tian's reputation back then was only on par with his current self. He had never imagined that there would be a day when he would actually be considered inferior to a dog by others. He might not have 100% confidence that he could defeat Jiang Tian. After all, Jiang Tian gave him an unfathomable feeling. It was very possible that he was an old monster that had hidden his cultivation base and suddenly appeared in this world. He still couldn't figure out Jiang Tian's background. But what was a dog demon that hadn't even stepped into the nascent soul stage? All right, Ji Mingchuan, why don't you dig out your own golden core and give it to me to eat, saving me the trouble of doing it myself. At least your soul can be saved. The big black dog, wearing big pants, stood on his feet and slowly approached. His eyes were high and arrogant to the extreme, as if victory was in his hands. He didn't put Ji Mingchuan in his eyes at all and actually asked him to destroy his own cultivation and offer up his golden core. Damn. The man is crazy, the dog is crazy too. A madman and a mad dog, don't be too compatible. Too arrogant. Everyone was stunned. Whether it was in the live broadcast room or at the scene, there were exclamations of disbelief. Go to hell. Ji Mingchuan roared and his Dharma form erupted, turning into 9 flying swords that swept out as fast as lightning. The cold sword chi froze the mountains and rivers. Swish. The cold sword chi was like 9 rainbows, dragging a long tail and piercing towards the big black dog. The moment it exploded, the temperature on the 100th floor of the Kunlun building plummeted by dozens of degrees. The walls were covered with ice crystals and snow filled the air. It was as if the early spring had turned into the coldest winter in an instant. If it weren't for the extraordinary identities of the people present and the protective Dharma artifacts that they bought with a lot of money, they would probably be frozen to death by the terrifying cold wave after the sword chi. They wouldn't even be able to last a minute. Wow. So cool. This long rainbow of sword energy is like a silver waterfall. It's too beautiful, too moving. My Chuan is so strong. No wonder he's the strongest person below the nascent soul stage. Hua Xia is the strongest. He's even stronger than Kong Teichu back then. Humph, how can Kong Teichu compare to him? Kong Teichu was only at the early stage of the golden core stage back then, and it was an ungraded golden core. But my Chuan is already at the nascent soul stage and has an extremely rare 9th grade golden core. For a moment in the live broadcast room, many of Ji Mingchuan's fans were exclaiming and commenting. Facing the Dharma form flying swords, the big black dog snorted and stretched out his paw and flicked his fingers. Every time he flicked his fingers, it hit a flying sword. With a series of clangs, the fierce flying sword fell to the ground and turned into a golden core in the shape of a sword pill, unable to struggle. What? He actually used his body to fight against a golden core Dharma form? Is he still human? No, is he still a dog? At this moment, everyone was shocked and couldn't believe it. How can this dog's cultivation be so powerful? Rise. At this moment, Ji Mingchuan was scared out of his wits and an unprecedented sense of danger rose in his heart. His divine soul and Dharma power surged, trying to retrieve the Dharma form that was almost destroyed. But it was too late. Come on. The large black dog's large paw stretched out and directly grabbed the sword-shaped golden core, stuffed it into its mouth, and started to chew loudly, emitting a strange sound that made one's teeth ache. It had actually chewed this indestructible golden core into pieces and swallowed it whole. The whole place was dead silent. Everyone couldn't believe it. This big black dog actually ate Ji Mingchuan's sword pill raw. This was too terrifying. Chapter 1731. No! After a full 10 seconds, Ji Mingchuan finally realized that he had lost all connection with his golden core and that his dermic powers were completely depleted. Only then did he realize that his golden core had been snatched away and had become someone else's. "Dog, give me back my golden core." He let out a mournful howl and almost burst into tears. Cultivation was a cultivator's second life. Having his golden core snatched away and reduced him to a cripple, this was worse than death. Who is this guy? Everyone looked at Jiang Tian again, and deep shock and astonishment appeared in their eyes. He was too powerful. Ji Mingchuan had too many titles. He was the most powerful young overlord in Huaxia, a golden core cultivator, a nascent soul cultivator, a 9th grade cultivator, the disciple of the Kunlun sect and the most powerful cultivator under the nascent soul heavenly lords. However, he couldn't even defeat his dog. Just how strong was he? At that moment, Ji Mingchuan, who had been staring at Jiang Tian with hatred and shock, suddenly realized something. He gasped and said in a trembling voice, "You're Kong Teichu." There was a big black demonic dog that was extremely powerful, and it was related to Li Huiyan. Who else could it be but Kong Teichu? Because of the teachings of the Beihan sect, Ji Mingchuan had thought that Jiang Tian had died during the interstellar travel. However, after connecting all the dots, he could only come up with one answer: he was Kong Teichu. After Ji Mingchuan said that, everyone went silent. Countless cultivators were stunned at first, and then their gazes fell on the white-haired man who was sitting on the chair and drinking leisurely. Their eyes were filled with extreme shock and disbelief. Kongtu. Those 3 words were like thunder to their ears. That was a terrifying existence who had single-handedly climbed to the top of Huaxia, swept across the world, and suppressed the 4 major worlds. He was the real founder of the Spirit Qi revival era. He was the leader of the Myth Alliance. That was also the guide who planted the eternal Taoist foundation for Earth. Although many sects in the Beidu sect had been trying to weaken Jiang Tian's influence and suppress Jiang Tian's power in the past 2 years, a lot of history had been covered up. However, once this name was mentioned, everyone immediately remembered the era of Kong Teichu 5 years ago. They immediately remembered Kong Teichu's invincible and peerless style. Jiang Tian had nothing to hide. He used the creation mysterious art, and his white hair turned black. His face became even more handsome, and he returned to his original appearance. He leisurely took off his sunglasses. His smile was still the same as before as he said faintly, "Time flies by like a white steed. 5 years have passed in the blink of an eye. I didn't think there would still be someone who remembers my name. I thought that this world had already forgotten my name. In the past 5 years, we have all been looking forward to the return of the leader of the Taichu Alliance." Bai Qiufei's face revealed a look of realization, shock, and ecstasy. He knelt on the ground and said with a trembling voice and tears streaming down his face, "Tianqing School's outer disciple Bai Qiufei welcomes the return of the leader of the Taichu Alliance and his return to Earth." So the leader of the Taichu Alliance is back. Tang Yuyu cheered. No wonder he was so confident. It's him. Zhao Chenzi supported his forehead with his hand and suddenly understood. Sure enough, it's really you. Seeing that familiar face, Li Huiyan could no longer control her tears and rolled down. The yearning and worry that had been going back and forth for the past few years seemed to finally be able to fall. At this moment, after finally confirming Jiang Tian's identity, Mo Yuza and Li Fifan were so shocked that their scalps almost exploded. They knelt on the ground one after another. Mo Yuza's face was full of fear as he said sincerely, "In the blink of an eye, the leader of the Taichu Alliance has finally returned. This disciple is really excited." The leader of the Taichu Alliance must have fought in the ruins of immortality and made a name for himself in the Sea of Stars. He returned with a great victory. It's really the fortune of Huaxia and the fortune of Earth. Li Fifan also flattered with a face full of joy. He was so scared that he was trembling and anxious to the extreme. Jiang Tian looked at Mo Yuza and Li Fifan coldly and said in a cold voice, "You are following Ji Mingchuan and Zhang Kai this time. Are you going to be enemies with Tianqing School?" We don't dare. The 2 trembled with fear and said in a trembling voice, "We are just secular people who don't cultivate the root bone. We follow Zhang Kai just to find a little protection." We have no intention of being enemies with the leader. This disciple is not an ungrateful person. Everything is forced by the situation. Jiang Tian also knew the truth of what the two said. Now that they had entered a new era of spiritual energy recovery, coupled with the arrival of the Big Dipper cultivators, the logic of the world had changed. Cultivation had become the foundation and pillar of the world's operation. They were just holding on to thighs. Since you don't dare, then get out of my way. Otherwise, don't blame me for killing without batting an eyelid. Jiang Tian waved his sleeve as if to drive away a fly. Mo Yuza and Li Fifan hurriedly stepped aside as if they had been pardoned. They looked extremely frightened and fearful, fearing that Jiang Tian would kill them if they didn't agree with him. At the same time, Kong Teichu is back. All the livestream rooms were also full of exclamations. Has he returned after defeating the immortal ruins? That's too powerful. No wonder Zhang Yilin suddenly got the image of the brand. There is so much evidence. It turns out that the leader of the Taichu Alliance is behind it. Good. This time, the leader of the Taichu Alliance has returned with a strong force. He must settle the score with Ji Muxian and Jeffrey and take back the control of the Myth Alliance. Earth, our ancestral home, a brand new cultivation planet. How can it fall into the hands of the Big Dipper? Jiang Tian's hardcore fans, such as Zhang Shisan and Chao Jinjia, even cheered as if they had been injected with chicken blood. The scheme of the Beihan Zongzi and Han Ming could fool most people, but not everyone. Warriors and cultivators such as Zhang Shisan and Chao Jinjia had already suspected that the Beidou monsters had suddenly arrived. When they saw the image of the secret meeting between Divine Lord Scorpio and Han Ming, they were even more certain that all of this was a scheme of Han Ming Zongzi. However, even if they knew that Han Ming was behind it, there was nothing they could do. Because the opponent was too powerful. But then, Jiang Tian had returned and they saw a glimmer of hope. Everyone stared at the screen in the livestream room. Under the pressure of Jiang Tian's might, clatter, Tsing Xian, Qi Zhuan and the other members of the 5 Heavenly Lord families in Huaxia were trembling and their faces were as pale as paper. Kong Teichu had come back from the immortal ruins alive. If he destroyed the immortal ruins and returned, didn't it mean that he had the power to kill more than one soul formation cultivator? That would be terrifying. No matter whether Han Ming Zongzi or Ji Muxian and the other new nascent soul cultivators on Earth could defeat Jiang Tian, at least they were sure that those new golden core cultivators were definitely not enough to deal with Jiang Tian. Even Ji Mingchuan, the most powerful one among them, was too weak. The truth was as obvious as a flea on a bald head. Ji Mingchuan's power was even weaker than Jiang Tian's dog. After confirming that it was Jiang Tian, Ji Mingchuan also fell into deep fear. He bowed and pretended to smile enthusiastically. I can't believe that Senior Kong Teichu, the pillar of the cultivation world in Huaxia, has returned. This is really a blessing for us and a great event for Earth. It will definitely make the whole world cheer. You're exaggerating. Jiang Tian's eyes narrowed slightly, and he laughed with ridicule as he said, Didn't you openly say that this isn't my era anymore? Didn't you say that I'm a sinner of Earth because I formed a mythical alliance with the monsters? After hearing what he said, everyone went silent. Everyone could feel the suffocating killing intent that Jiang Tian was emitting. Chapter 1732. Ji Mingchuan's smile also froze on his face. He then said with a wry smile, Please forgive me, Senior. I was indeed ignorant. It's just a small misunderstanding. I'm sure you won't hold it against me with your magnanimity. A small misunderstanding? Jiang Tian sneered when he heard that. He leisurely took a sip of red wine and said coldly, Then let me ask you, were the dojos of the Tianqing school in Huaxia snatched by the 5 new heavenly lords? Then let me ask you, were my disciples Yi Tianren, Huaqing Tian, and Alexander of the Moon Wolf clan sent to the Martian battlefield as cannon fodder? Answer me, were the members of the Myth Alliance, Ao Bing by Sujuan, and the others killed by the 5 heavenly lords? Answer me, were my grandfather, Zhang Jinghua, and Zhang Yilin of the Zhang family humiliated and forced by you. Then answer me, is it a small misunderstanding after so many people died? With every question Jiang Tian asked, Ji Mingchuan's face turned paler. By the time Jiang Tian finished speaking, his face was already paler than a corpse that had been dead for 3 days. Large beads of cold sweat trickled down his forehead like a small stream, and his body couldn't help but tremble. Senior Tai Chu, your black dog has already destroyed my cultivation. What else do you want? Ji Mingchuan finally squeezed out a sentence with difficulty. You also know that I, Kong Tai Chu, have never been magnanimous. I'm narrow-minded and vengeful. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, a blood debt naturally has to be repaid with blood. You and all the lackeys of the Big Dipper sect have to die. Senior Tai Chu also knows that I'm a member of the Big Dipper sect. There was a dead silence. After a long time, Ji Mingchuan curled up like a quail. After a long time, he raised his head and looked straight at Jiang Tian. To be honest, I'm the disciple of Han Ming, the Zongzi of the Beihan sect. Do you know what will happen to you if you kill me? Zongzi of Han Ming? Is it that great? Jiang Tian's black hair fluttered in the wind. He raised his jade-like right hand and bent a finger. Then let's destroy the freezing North sect and wipe out all the enemies from the outer realms. Stop! At this time, a thunderous roar suddenly came from the horizon. Ji Mingchuan also felt an invisible force pulling him out of the hall and into the sky. In the blink of an eye, he was already 1,000 meters away. Can he be saved? Jiang Tian's expression was cold as he flicked his finger. A golden finger beam, like a bullet fired from a Barrett sniper rifle, streaked across the sky and chased after Ji Mingchuan. This finger light didn't contain any laws. It was purely condensed from 7th metal true essence, but it could definitely kill an ordinary nascent soul cultivator. Father and the heaven monarchs are here. Ji Mingchuan smiled. In the next moment, he felt as if he had been hit by a rocket. Even the protective aura that Ji Muxian had condensed for him could not withstand it and was torn apart in an instant. Even his physical body and divine soul were shattered by this vast force and exploded like fireworks. The young peerless genius and the disciple of the Zongzi of the freezing North sect were nothing in front of Jiang Tian. Meanwhile, the audience in front of the screen were all dumbfounded. What? My Chuan was killed? Why is Kong Tai Chu so vicious? He's stirring up a storm of blood as soon as he comes back. Countless female fans of Ji Mingchuan were dumbfounded. They hugged each other and cried. They hated Jiang Tian to the core. There was nothing they could do about it. There were always some die-hard fans in any era. These people didn't care about justice and wouldn't analyze the big picture. They only acted based on their feelings. Kong Tai Chu, you killed my beloved son. I won't let you go until I'm dead. A loud roar was heard, shaking many glass walls and causing them to collapse. It was full of anger. A man in a Taoist robe flew from afar and stopped in the air. As soon as this figure arrived, an overwhelming cold sword will, like a cold wave, instantly enveloped the entire Kunlun building and even half of Jin City. The laws rumbled and clanged. The sword chi shot up to the sky and seemed to be able to crush the Kunlun building and tear the sky apart. A nascent soul heavenly lord. Even with the protection of the talisman arrays, people still felt uncomfortable and terrified. They felt as if their divine souls were going to be destroyed in the next second. Everyone looked up. 5 figures stood proudly in the sky, 10 miles apart from each other. They surrounded the Kunlun building in a fan-shaped formation. Some of them were cold, some were as majestic as mountains, some were filled with murderous intent, and some were filled with black smoke. Each of them had the rumbling of laws, as if they had merged with the world and affected a certain great path. Ji Muxian, Zhang Huairan, Tsing Yilong, Yang Chen, Qi Jinglei, Hua Xia's 5 supreme heavenly lords are here. In an instant, everyone in the building and the audience in front of the screen were shocked. Senior Tai Chu just came back and he's already in a tight encirclement. Is he going to die here? God is so heartless that he has to kill the Earth's genius? As for Bai Choufei and the other staunch supporters of Jiang Tian, Great waves were set off in their hearts. They revealed worried expressions and sighed. How did they come so fast? Sigh, we should have fled 1,000 miles away to avoid them. Li Huiyan and Tang Yuyu also couldn't help but grab Zhao Chenzi's small hand. Their beautiful eyes were full of panic. At this moment, many of the audience who supported Jiang Tian felt as if their chests were pressed by a huge rock. They couldn't breathe and couldn't say a word. 5 powerful nascent soul heavenly lords. What kind of concept was that? Before the recovery of spirit chi, the entire Earth, including many secret realms and the several dimensional worlds of the solar system, didn't even have a nascent soul heavenly lord. Even now, a nascent soul heavenly lord was enough to dominate the world and be invincible. Everyone on Earth didn't know Jiang Tian's strength at this time, so it was impossible for them not to be worried. The 5 most powerful heavenly lords are here. Who can resist such a luxurious lineup? Zhang Shisan clenched his fists tightly and his eyes were full of despair. He couldn't wait to go to the scene immediately and fight side by side with Jiang Tian. Sigh, this bunch of Big Dipper lackeys had already discussed this beforehand. They wanted to use this gathering to force the Tianqing sect to bow their heads and force them to withdraw from Huaxia completely, weakening Grand Primordium's power. In front of the screen, Chao Jinjia, who had successfully formed her core, looked bitter. The other supporters of Jiang Tian could only smile bitterly. Facing such a luxurious lineup, everyone wanted to be muggles. Even a soul formation overlord would have to be careful. After all, these people had received the inheritance of the Beihan sect and reached the ultimate level. It's just an ant. I killed it. Do you have a problem with that? Jiang Tian looked calm. Suddenly he raised his hand and grabbed Seng Xian from the crowd. Senior Tai Chu, please spare my life. How dare you kill me? While he was begging for mercy and Seng Yilong was shouting, Jiang Tian shook his right arm and turned him into a mist of blood. Kong Taichu, you're so arrogant. Seng Yilong's eyes were bloodshot as he shouted. His son was killed right in front of him. How dare you? Do you really want to fight to the death with us? If you surrender now and wait for the Beihan sect's verdict, you might still have a chance to live. Qi Jinglei's skinny body was like a mountain under the influence of the Dharma laws. He threatened loudly. Meanwhile, Jiang Tian released a bit of his Dharma power and turned the entire hall into an iron plate. He wanted to save his son, Qi Shuoran, but he couldn't do anything. He was under the control of others, so he didn't want to harm Jiang Tian. He could only try to make Jiang Tian recognize reality and make him surrender without any resistance. However, he didn't know the truth. Do you think you can make me fight to the death with you? Even if Han Ming Zongzi is here, do you think he's worthy? Jiang Tian pointed at Qi Zhuoran's head and exploded it. His brain and skull flew everywhere. Qi Zhuoran's headless body fell to the ground. His divine soul had been destroyed and he was truly dead. 5 years ago, when Jiang Tian had just reached the core formation level, he would have had to run away if he encountered such a nascent soul heavenly lord, not to mention 5 of them. But then Jiang Tian was much more powerful than before. He could kill many soul formation cultivators in the ruins of deity as if he were cutting grass. 5 nascent soul cultivators were nothing to him. At this moment, the world became silent. The entire world was dead silent. Senior Tai Chu is still the Senior Tai Chu. He's still so decisive and ruthless. Zhang Shisan and Chao Jinjia gasped and exclaimed. Chapter 1733. The first time Jiang Tian made a public appearance after his return, he directly killed 4 of the 5 lords of heaven's children in front of their elders and ancestors. This was to make them feel so much pain that they would rather die. It also made it clear that there was no possibility of peace talks. He would not rest until one of them was dead. Although the outcome was still unknown, Jiang Tian was the only one in the world who could be so decisive and ruthless. Jiang Tian was the only one. At this moment, their blood was boiling and they couldn't wait to roar at the sky. Kong Taichu, you are so arrogant. Seeing his children killed with his own eyes, Qi Jinglei felt like his heart was being cut by a knife. He was so angry that he vomited blood, his teeth were almost broken, and his eyes were almost spitting fire. Kang Teichu, do you think this is still the era 5 years ago when you dominated alone? Now that the Big Dipper has arrived, the world has changed greatly, and many orthodoxies have reached the limit. It is no longer your world. What right do you have to stir up a storm of blood and do whatever you want? Yang Chen's breath was cold, and he shouted majestically, "You are courting death. Come out and fight." Ji Muxian's sword qi was dense, and he shouted with a sonorous voice. "Even if you defeated the semi-god realm cultivators in the ruins of immortality, so what? Those you killed were just some gradeless semi-god realm cultivators. Their strength may not be comparable to us nascent soul cultivators." Qi Jinglei was also full of confidence. His eyes were full of disdain, and his killing intent was overflowing. He shouted coldly, "Today, I will let you know what a real 9th grade nascent soul cultivator is." But so far, you still have many believers. Zhang Huairan gritted his teeth, his face was ferocious, and his triangular eyes were full of resentment. He said gloomily, "You came at the right time today. Under the witness of the whole world, we will kill you and break your legend. The expressions of your believers will be very interesting." "Are you done?" Under the gazes of countless people, Jiang Tian stepped out and flew out of the building. He stood in the air above the Qinhuai River and said indifferently, "You are just a few useless nascent soul cultivators, and you think too highly of yourself. A frog at the bottom of a well wants to kill me? Arrogant! How dare you? Kill him." The 5 nascent soul heavenly lords were enraged. Viciousness flashed in their eyes and their bodies were full of viciousness. Ji Muxian's nascent soul roared. With a shake of his sleeves, the endless sword qi precepts transformed into a sword qi dragon that was several hundred meters long. It slashed towards Jiang Tian. The sword qi dragon was densely packed with precious swords. There were more than tens of thousands of them. In an instant, it cut through the void within a radius of 10 miles. The turbulent Qinhuai River below was like a violent tornado. The turbid waves surged to the sky, and the raging waves beat against the shore. They were at least 100 meters tall, as if they were going to drown Gold City and destroy the entire world. Senior Tai Chu, Alliance Master. Jiang Tian. At this moment, in the building, Jiang Tian's family, friends, supporters, and followers all exclaimed in front of the screen. Their faces were filled with worry and even despair. How strong was Ji Muxian's limit ascension now? He was at the peak stage of the nascent soul level, close to the soul formation level. That slash was extremely powerful and was comparable to an attack from a soul formation level cultivator. It was more than 100 times more powerful than the Tungu's ancient lake. It could definitely uproot the entire Kunlun building and wipe it off the face of the earth. Ji Muxian, I've given you 5 years. I can't believe you haven't improved at all. Jiang Tian sneered and looked indifferent. There was disdain in his eyes as he ignored the sword qi dragon. I gave you a chance, but you didn't take it. When the sword qi dragon was less than a few hundred meters away from him, he suddenly exhaled and shouted, "Go away." More than half of Gold City shook violently and the sky twisted as if endless power had descended. The stars in the sky shook and the entire world seemed to be about to collapse. Then, he saw the countless laws of sword qi being utterly defeated and swept away. 10 miles away, Ji Muxian suddenly let out a miserable howl. His eyes were filled with endless fear as the laws of his body disintegrated. His flesh and spirit embryo exploded with a loud bang. His inch-sized nascent soul managed to escape, but it only lasted for a snap of a finger before it also exploded. Only the storage ring was left. Jiang Tian purposely kept it. He raised his hand and took it. At this moment, there was dead silence in the sky and on the ground. Everyone's expression froze and their eyes were glazed. Ji Muxian, a peak stage 9th grade nascent soul heavenly lord who had the support of the Beihan sect, exploded after Jiang Tian shouted. Wasn't Jiang Taichu a little too strong? Cultivator Muxian. Sect Master Ji. For a moment, The other 4 nascent soul stage cultivators subconsciously exclaimed, with intense shock and disbelief written all over their faces. No one could believe what they had just seen. Li Huiyan's eyes widened and she covered her red lips with her hand. She murmured, How is this possible? How did he become so powerful? He's as powerful as a soul formation overlord. He's not a golden core or nascent soul cultivator. Is he really the one who killed Divine Prince Qianlong? In a blink, the 4 nascent soul heavenly lords fell back in fear. Tsing Yilong suddenly cupped his fists and said, Divine Prince Hanch, please help us. Kill Kongdi. We can't stop him. What? Divine Prince Hanch is here too? No wonder the 5 nascent soul heavenly lords dared to face Kong Techu. They have cultivators from other planets helping them. Whether it was the people in the building or the people in front of the screen, they all panicked and were stunned. Divine Prince Hanch was Han Ming Zongzi's right-hand man. The power of a half-soul formation grand cultivator from other planets was terrifying. He wasn't any weaker than the soul formation grand cultivators of the monsters on Earth. He could kill nascent soul monsters as easily as cutting vegetables. This time, Jiang Tian might not be able to do it. Divine Prince Hanch is here. Kong Techu, what can you do? No matter how strong Kong Techu is, he's only powerful in a small place like Earth. How can he be a match for Divine Prince Hanch? Hanch Shensi, kill him and avenge our Chuanchuan. Jiang Taichu, let's see how arrogant you can be. Continue being arrogant if you dare. Divine Prince Hanch is invincible. The country bumpkin Jiang Taichu is no match for him at all. He can only kneel and beg for mercy. For a moment, Ji Mingchuan's female fans, who had been dispirited by Jiang Tian's blow, came back to life on the spot and spammed the bullet screen crazily in the livestream channel, gloating and wishing that Hanch Shensi could tear Jiang Tian into pieces immediately. Those people had been completely brainwashed by the cultivators from other planets. In their eyes, the cultivation civilization of the Beidou planet was superior to that of Earth. And Jiang Tian was just a bumpkin who couldn't be compared at all. It was a strange phenomenon, but it wasn't uncommon in life. Many women would think that a Huaxia man who earned $1 million a year was inferior to a foreign loser who couldn't earn more than a few thousand yuan a year. It was almost crazy and not rational. Chapter 1734. Stop running. At this moment, they saw a man in a golden battle suit, a purple gold crown, and black iron battle boots. His face was handsome and chiseled, and he looked majestic like a god descending from the heavens. Divine Prince Han Che, you're finally here. Tseng Yilong was overjoyed as if he had seen his savior. He knelt in the air and kowtowed 3 times. Then he pointed at Jiang Tian and said, Divine Prince, this is the most evil person on earth, Kong Techu. He has repeatedly stirred up a reign of terror and slaughtered his way through. He wants to overthrow the rule of Divine Son Han Ming. You must quickly kill him. Divine Prince, do it now. This kid is rebellious and unruly. As the most evil person on earth, we must kill him while he's still weak. The other 3 nascent soul overlords were also thrilled. Not only had Han Che arrived, Qin Shi Fairy and Elder Pan Xing had also arrived. There were dozens of nascent soul heavenly lords and each of them was powerful. Bang! Han Che raised his hand and slapped Tseng Yilong's head. Bang! Tseng Yilong was caught off guard. He didn't even have time to use the Dharma laws of the nascent soul to defend himself. His body and nascent soul exploded like an eggshell under the pressure of Mount Tai. What? Everyone was dumbfounded again. The other 3 nascent soul heavenly lords on Earth were even more dumbfounded. The 3 supreme-grade true artifacts released by Hanch Divine Prince had already landed on them and bound them tightly. What happened? Wasn't Han Che Divine Prince Han Ming's subordinate? Wasn't he here to help us? Why did he attack us all of a sudden? But what shocked them even more was yet to come. Greetings, Divine Prince of the Taichu. I've captured these 3 evildoers. Senior Taichu will deal with them now. Hanch Shensi led many Big Dipper cultivators to kneel in the void and kowtow to Jiang Tianxing. Their bodies were trembling and their faces were full of fear, as if they had seen the greatest god. The entire place went silent for a moment. Everyone stared dumbfoundedly at this godlike Han Che godchild. Like a subject meeting the emperor, he prostrated himself before Jiang Tian. A dignified divine son from outside the realm actually. At this moment, the billions of people in front of the screen were all dumbfounded. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. Especially the fans of the cultivators from other planets, the ones who worshipped Han's divine prince and thought that Jiang Tian would definitely lose, felt as if their faces had been slapped swollen. Even Chao Jinjia, Zhang Shisan and the others opened their mouths wide enough to swallow a pear. They looked at the man with black hair and black eyes standing in the air, looking down at Han Shensi like a god. They couldn't say a word. What? Han Che divine prince, a half-step soul formation cultivator, has surrendered to him. But the most shocked were undoubtedly the few Huaxia supreme nascent soul cultivators. Qi Jinglei was stunned on the spot and couldn't believe it. He is Han Ming Zongzi's right-hand man. How can he be in cahoots with Kong Teichu, an ant from Earth? Yang Chen was also dumbfounded. Han Che divine prince must have encountered him before and lost to Kong Teichu. That's why he worships him. Kong Teichu is still Kong Teichu, still the most powerful and terrifying existence on this planet. Zhang Huairan suddenly understood. He screamed in his heart and the corners of his eyes twitched crazily. He was so scared that he peed his pants and shouted, "Leader Teeth, I know my mistake. I admit defeat. Please forgive me for offending you." At this moment he really regretted it. One careless move and the whole game was lost. He had underestimated Kong Teichu after all. It's not a big deal to offend me. The point is, you betrayed Earth and abandoned your home. Jiang Tian's eyes were cold. He first raised his hand and took their storage bags and storage rings, then said coldly, "So, you all have to die." "No!" In the screams of the three nascent soul heavenly lords, Jiang Tian flicked his fingers and a Genjin finger aura burst out every time. "Kong Teichu, we've already surrendered, but you still want to kill us. You're so cruel and vicious. You'll suffer retribution. My descendants, the Beihan sect, will avenge me." Seeing that Jiang Tian was ruthless, Zhang Huairan and the other two screamed in despair, but they couldn't change the tragic outcome. Bang bang bang. 3 explosions sounded consecutively. The 3 nascent soul cultivators didn't have the slightest power to resist. Their spirit embryos were broken and their nascent souls were destroyed. Their bodies and divine souls exploded uncontrollably and turned into nothingness in the end. Your threats reminded me of something. When I first formed the Myth Alliance, I noticed the existence of the Zhang family. But I thought that you were just a member of the Yin sect and didn't care about worldly affairs, so I didn't suppress you. As for Ji Muxian, I even let him off and didn't kill him to the last one. But I didn't expect that you would be in cahoots with the cultivators from other planets and attack your homeland. Jiang Tian's face was as cold as steel, without a trace of emotion. His eyes were extremely cold and his voice was as cold as ice. "It seems like you're treating my kindness as weakness. Then, I'll show you how cruel I am. I'll let you know how miserable the consequences of betraying me, Jiang Taichu." Then, he waved his right hand in the air and 5 palm-sized balls of blood slowly gathered and rippled like waves. The 5 balls of blood gradually condensed into 5 blood-colored runes. They were oddly shaped and difficult to understand. They did not belong to the language on Earth, but they gave people a strange feeling that they were connected to all things. It was as if they were connected to the past and the present, connecting the world. Cut the cause and effect, bloodline curse. Jiang Tian let out a deep growl. Thin blood threads suddenly shot out from the 5 symbols, piercing into the depths of the void. Meanwhile, the golden lake on Jiang Tian's forehead rippled like a deep vertical pupil. The black suppressing hell demon god's soul extended out from it, instantly splitting into hundreds and thousands of strands. They chased after the strands of blood, reaching thousands of miles away. Jiang Tian wiped away the immortal will seals on the 5 nascent soul heavenly lords' storage rings and storage bags. Whoosh! Hundreds of soul tablets lined up in the air, emitting a bright light. Each of them represented the life of a disciple who was closely related to them. Meanwhile, in a secret base in Yanjin, thousands of miles away, a gloomy young man wearing the uniform of a senior member of the Guardians of Huaxia was watching the live broadcast in a panic. Kong Teichu killed 5 nascent soul heavenly lords, and even our ancestral patriarch, Ji Muxian, died. Brother, what should we do? The world is going to change. Kong Teichu is a vengeful person. He'll definitely wipe out the Ji family and not let anyone go. The other disciple of the Ji clan was so frightened that his legs trembled as he spoke in a trembling voice. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that the Ji family, who had just obtained the support of the foreign cultivators to dominate China's cultivation world and establish an everlasting legacy, would collapse in a single night. They watched him build a tower and entertain guests, only to see it collapse. Jiang Tian had formed the Myth Alliance because the ruins of deity were too powerful, so he wanted to unite all the forces that could be united. But then, he was so powerful that he had already dominated the ruins of deity and had the ability to fight with the Beidou civilization. He wouldn't pretend to be polite to the traitors on Earth. He would definitely kill and not let any of them go. Yi Ku is still in our hands. She's the only child left of the Yi family, which is closest to Kong Teichu. If we take her away, Kong Teichu won't be able to do anything to us. The disciple of the Ji family gritted his teeth and snickered. Chapter 1735. Ji Mingchuan had been coveting Yi Karen for a long time. Although Yi Tianren and Yi Zhantian had died in the battle against the Beidou monsters. Later, Yi Karen, who supported Jiang Tian, was also seriously injured in the fight for the control of the Myth Alliance. However, Ji Mingchuan didn't want to kill her. He hoped that one day he could use both hard and soft tactics to get close to her, so he imprisoned her in this place. Yes. How could I forget about this? We still have one last card. As they spoke, the 2 Ji family disciples revealed a smile of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. They opened a heavily guarded prison and coldly shouted at a pale-faced woman who was barely breathing. Yi Karen, come with us. Let me go. One day, when Kong Teichu comes back, you will be killed. Let me go today and maybe I will let you go one day. Yi Karen was lying on the dirty bed. His face was pale and haggard. His cultivation had been crippled and he was almost like a mortal. He was thin and weak from hunger, but his eyes were still filled with boundless killing intent and deep hatred. In fact, she regretted it very much. Back then, why did he show mercy and let Ji Muxian, Yi Hui, and the others go? In the end, he had nurtured a tiger and brought calamity upon himself. When these people grew stronger, they immediately became the lackeys of Big Dipper. Putting aside the fact that his family members were killed, they even implicated many other innocent people. So what if Kong Teichu comes back? We have the Beihan sect and Han Ming Zongzi behind us. The 2 disciples of the Ji family, who were already very scared and resentful, were greatly stimulated when they heard this. They almost collapsed. They danced and shouted hysterically, no matter how strong Jiang Taichu is, he is just a nascent soul realm cultivator. But Han Ming Zongzi has more than 10 semi-god realm cultivators. The Ji family will never lose. The Yi family is about to be destroyed. They seem to be venting and comforting themselves. Suddenly, a suspicion appeared in their minds. But why is she looking at me as if she has seen a ghost? Sigh, that's not right. Why is my chest so hot, as if it's being roasted? What is this? Under the horrified gazes of the crowd, the 2 Ji family disciples who were originally roaring suddenly had crimson flames erupt from their chests. These flames were as red as blood and instantly spread throughout their bodies. Their heads, torsos, and limbs were instantly engulfed by the terrifying vermilion bird flames. The few prison guards who had followed him were so scared that they screamed miserably and peed their pants. They dodged to the side in a panic. But strangely enough, although these 2 balls of flames were ferocious, they seemed to have a mind of their own. They only burned 2 of the Ji clan's disciples to death, and the others, not even a blade of grass or a tree, were affected. In just a few seconds, the 2 Ji clan disciples turned into green smoke, not even leaving behind a trace of ash, completely disappearing from this world. I heard that Kang Taechu has the bloodline curse technique and can kill people from thousands of miles away. Could it be that the prison guards looked at each other? They were so scared that they were about to go crazy. Hurry up and release Miss Yi. Otherwise, we'll all die. Miss Yi, please forgive us for our disrespect. We had no choice. Tai Chu Sr. has returned. If he asks, please put in a good word for us. Everyone hurriedly removed the shackles and handcuffs on Yi Karen's body, then kowtowed and begged for mercy. What? Sect Master Tai Chu is back? Yi Karen couldn't believe it. He's back. And he killed 5 nascent soul heavenly lords at the Kunlun building in Jin City. A prison guard handed over a phone with a trembling voice. It was playing the scene of Jiang Tian killing in Jin City. Tai Chu Sr., you're finally back. I knew it. You wouldn't die in the ruins of deity. Heaven has not forsaken earth. Yi Karen was so happy that tears rolled down his cheeks. Zhonghai. On the bank of the Huangpu River, the moon was shining brightly in the sky, and the skyscraper stood proudly. Lady Wu, you've hidden it well. You look like a member of the royal family, but you're actually a member of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan. Now, hand over all the worldly wealth and cultivation resources of the Wu family. Come back to the demon-suppressing heavenly prison with me and wait for the verdict. If you dare to resist, don't blame me for being merciless. On the top floor of the skyscraper, Zhang Juyuan, Zhang Huairan's beloved son and a level 3 nascent soul cultivator, was surrounded by a group of golden core and nascent soul cultivators. He put his hands behind his back and looked at Lady Wu disdainfully. I can't hide it anymore. Dressed in a business suit and high heels, Martial Demon Yang, who looked like a strong woman in the workplace, sighed with a complicated expression. Indeed, Wu Yaonyang's ancestor, Wu Mainyang, belonged to the Nine-Tailed Fox demon clan. Therefore, when Jiang Tian saw Wu Yaonyang for the first time during the battle against the door to heaven at the Lansong River, he gave her the evaluation of a femme fatale with overwhelming demonic aura. But Jiang Tian didn't expose her. Firstly, Jiang Tian didn't care about the bloodlines of humans and demons. Instead, he adhered to the law of behavior. Those who are kind to me are kind, and those who are evil are evil. As long as they were of the same mind, no matter whether they were demons or monsters, as long as they were of the same mind, they would accept everything. Secondly, after thousands of years of intermarriage with humans, the demon bloodline in Lady Wu's generation was extremely thin. It was only 1/10. So, Lady Wu's demon bloodline had always been extremely hidden. In the 2 years when the Big Dipper clan descended and demons wreaked havoc on the land, the Wu family didn't suffer much impact. They even secretly saved many demons who followed Jiang Tian. But they didn't expect that the dragon-slaying Zhang family would still find them with some clues. I also know that you're collecting resources to eliminate the Big Dipper clan. After thinking for a while, the martial demon lady smiled and said in a sweet voice, as a hidden royal family, my Wu family has the responsibility of protecting China. Naturally, it is our duty to do so. I can give you all my wealth and cultivation resources. But if you send us to the dragon-slaying heavenly prison, Lady Wu will be wronged. I'm not a demon. She had been in the mortal world for a long time and was very quick-witted. If she lost the heavenly materials and earthly treasures, she could still earn them back. Besides, when Senior Kang Taechu comes back, we can take them back 10 times more. It's not up to you to decide whether you're a demon or not. I only need to take out the dragon-revealing mirror given by the Beihan sect and you'll show your true form. Do you really want to try? Zhang Juyuan snorted coldly with a fake smile. Senior, the Wu family and you don't have to interfere. Why do you have to be so aggressive? Lady Wu's face froze and her body trembled. Demons and humans are different. The dragon-slaying Zhang family has always been suppressing demons, upholding justice and protecting the righteous path. We'll kill any demon we see. There's nothing to say. We're not targeting the fox demon Wu family. Zhang Juyuan's face was full of righteousness. He flicked his sleeves impatiently and said coldly, "Give up your fantasy. Don't make me wait too long. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless and killing demons. Don't go too far when you do things. Senior, do you really think Kang Taechu won't come back to settle the score with you? Why do you think the image of Divine Lord Scorpio and Zhongzi Hanming's secret meeting was leaked?" Lady Wu said. "Fine, I guess the dust has settled. I won't hide it from you anymore." Zhang Juyuan's face didn't change. He said confidently, "I knew it, and so did the 5 most powerful Divine Lords. They're already on their way to the Kunlun Plaza to kill Kang Taechu. Besides, do you know that Divine Prince Hanch is also going to attack? He's a half-step soul formation cultivator." Hearing those words, Lady Martial Demon's expression changed enormously. Divine Prince Hanch. Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Divine Prince Hanch was invincible during the battle against the monsters. He killed nascent soul cultivators like cutting grass and was even on par with some divine lords of the monsters. Kang Taechu was only a golden core cultivator when he left the ruins of deity. After 5 years, he's only a nascent soul cultivator. How can he be a match for Divine Prince Hanch? This time, after eliminating Jiang Taichu, the dragon-slaying Zhang family could be said to be one of the top forces on Earth. No one will be able to compete with them. A golden core cultivator next to him bragged. After today, the Zhang family might even have the chance to follow the grand cultivators of the 7-star sect to the sky. They're bound to rise. Everyone looked at Zhang Juyuan with burning eyes. As Zhang Huairan's son, he definitely had the chance to be taken to the 7-star sect by the grand cultivators and rise in status. If they clung to him, they would certainly receive endless benefits. Haha. Zhang Juyuan laughed. He'd been waiting for this day for too long. In fact, even if the cultivators of the 7-star sect determined that Kang Taechu had died in the ruins of deity or the dead universe, they still couldn't find his body. The name Kang Taechu had always been a stone in their hearts, making them feel uneasy every day when they thought about it. But after this battle, everything would be fine. They would be free of worries forever. But then, a golden core cultivator walked over and whispered, "There's a change in the situation." Zhang Juyuan seemed to have heard the whispers of the devil. His face changed drastically and he broke out in cold sweat. His body couldn't help but tremble. "Prepare the crystal ship. Let's go. To the outer space city." Zhang Juyuan couldn't wait any longer. He turned around and left like a stray dog. Why did he suddenly leave? Lady Wu got up and looked at them in disbelief. Then, she saw a scene that she would never forget for the rest of her life. Zhang Jiyuan, who had been as ferocious a moment ago, had just dashed out of the skyscraper toward the crystal warship hovering in midair when he was suddenly enshrouded in a cluster of red flames. Even the descendants of the Zhang family were burnt into smoke in the next moment. Under the night sky, the red flames were extremely beautiful and moving. "The Taichu Senior has returned and won a great victory in the Gold City," Luo Fei hurried in from outside. She was so excited that tears were running down her face. The same thing happened not only in the heavenly prison of the capital city, but also in the moon tower of Zhonghai, and even in the secret lands abroad. The descendants of the 5 heavenly lord families in the secret realms turned into smoke in front of their friends and captives. The elites of the noble families who had been chasing after the demons or Jiang Tian's supporters suddenly burst into flames and turned into ashes in the mountains. Under the shocked gazes of the disciples, the elders of the aristocratic families suddenly disappeared into thin air in their respective ancestral lands. Under Jiang Tian's merciless curse, the direct bloodlines of the 5 strongest nascent soul heavenly lords were instantly annihilated. Chapter 1736. Outside the Kunlun building, above the Qinhuai River. The hundreds of soul tablets floating in the air first showed the last scene of the original body being killed, then dimmed one by one until all of them were extinguished in the end. It meant that all the descendants of the 5 heavenly lord families had been killed in a few seconds. At that moment, the henchmen of the 5 heavenly lord families in the building, including Li Fifan, Mo Yuza, Chen Xiong and Lu Qinho, all turned pale and trembled in fear. They were truly terrified at that moment. In their eyes, Jiang Tian was no different from a demon. He was 100 times more terrifying than the 5 heavenly lord families. Jiang Tian used his bloodline as a guide to cut off all the karma. Because of one person's bloodline, all the descendants had died. That was too terrifying. Even Han Shensi and the others were trembling slightly and their eyes were full of fear. That kind of bloodline curse that cut off karma was not uncommon in the cultivation world. However, he knew that the Dharma laws on earth were extremely strong and it was extremely difficult to cast such a curse. Besides, some disciples of the 5 heavenly lord families even lived in space cities outside the planet. Even Han Ming Zongzi might not be able to go through the vast Dharma laws and kill people from 1,000,000 miles away. Some of the nascent soul heavenly lords and soul formation divine lords of the 7-star Beidou mainly cultivated bloodline curses. If they knew how terrifying Jiang Tian's curse was, they would be so ashamed that they would commit suicide. Han Shensi was a bit hesitant after he decided to submit to Jiang Tian. After all, if he followed the wrong person, he would be killed and even his family's foundation in the 7-star Beidou would be cruelly wiped out. The risk was extremely high. But now, he didn't have the slightest bit of doubt. Kang Taichu would definitely have the strength to wrestle with Han Ming Zongzi in the future. Bloodline killing curse traced to the source and severed karma. It was too vicious and went against the laws of heaven. Jiang Tian had never used it on Earth. However, the situation was different now. Earth was in chaos. Jiang Tian didn't need to be polite at all. After Jiang Tian killed Ji Muxian and the 5 most powerful heavenly lords of Huaxia, he flew back to the building. Zhang Yilin and the media reporters shared the scene of the battle with the media and interviewed Han Shensi and the others. This is the BBC television station, reporting live from the Myth Alliance's latest exchange conference. In the Kunlun building in Jincheng, Huaxia, the former leader of the Myth Alliance, Kang Taichu, made a strong return and engaged in an intense battle with Ji Muxian and the other heaven monarchs of Huaxia. It wasn't just Huaxia's media that was paying attention. It could be said that the global media couldn't ignore this huge change. After all, Huaxia was an important place for cultivation after the recovery of spirit qi. Cultivators accounted for 1/3 of the world's population. What happened here would definitely affect the overall situation of global cultivation. The internet was in an uproar. Kang Taichu is back. When they saw the scene of Jiang Tian killing the 5 heaven monarchs of Huaxia, the whole world was in an uproar. For many ordinary people, Jiang Tian's deeds of restoring Earth's spirit qi, publicizing basic cultivation techniques, planting a Tao foundation for Earth, and establishing the Myth Alliance, although they had been deliberately erased by the extraterrestrial cultivators, were still like yesterday. He used to be the most powerful cultivator on Earth and several other dimensions. Unfortunately, after crossing the Sea of Stars and entering the ruins of deity, no one knew whether he was alive or not. This made many knowledgeable people sigh. Today, most of the people who believed in the Beihan sect's conspiracy were welcoming and excited. When Han Shensi arrived, the atmosphere froze in an instant. Many people looked at the screen and were terrified. They were extremely nervous, worried that Jiang Tian would be killed. Who would have thought that Han Shensi had already been frightened by Jiang Tian and knelt down to surrender? Han Shensi, why did you kneel down to the leader of the Taichu Alliance? What made you make such a difficult decision to abandon Hanming Zongzi and stand on the side of the leader of the Taichu Alliance? Zhang Yilin recovered her appearance and led many reporters to interview Han Shensi. I followed Hanming Zongzi for the sake of interstellar peace and justice. But I didn't expect him to be a despicable man who manipulated the interstellar war and deceived the world. Since I've already seen his true face, how can I continue to be his accomplice? Han Shensi was wearing a suit of armor and looked like an ancient god of war. He talked to a group of reporters in modern clothes in front of the camera, forming a strange scene. But everyone was already used to it. After the recovery of spirit qi, technology and cultivation were mixed, and the future and history were mixed. There were too many scenes like this. But aren't you afraid of Han Ming Zongzi's revenge? Zhang Yilin asked. I'm not afraid, because we have the Taichu Divine Lord. Han Shenzi said calmly with his hands behind his back. Divine Lord? Has the leader of the Taichu Alliance reached the soul formation level? A reporter noticed this detail and exclaimed. The power of the Taichu Senior isn't something we can see. Han Shenzi smiled but didn't say anything. Next to him, the beautiful Chen Shi fairy walked over. She looked at Jiang Tian with awe, adoration in her eyes and said softly, Jiang Tian, you're the most powerful man in the world. But we've seen with our own eyes how Senior Taichu killed Divine Lord Tai Sha. The 4 Divine Lords of the Beihan sect, Astral Fire, Treading Sword, Green Miasma and Eerie Darkness in an hour, forcing Divine Lord Scorpio to commit suicide as an apology. Such a battle record, no matter what level he is at, certainly deserves the title of Divine Lord. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire place fell into dead silence. Astral Fire, Treading Sword. The names of those Divine Lords were too terrifying. Tai Sha and Sky Scorpion were powerful and brutal. They could easily destroy a fleet of space battleships and swallow hundreds of thousands of creatures in a city. Even nuclear weapons and sunflower lotuses couldn't kill them. In the first half of the war, they made the creatures on Earth tremble in fear, deep in their bones. And yet, Jiang Tian had killed them with a flick of his finger after reaching the soul formation level. It could be said that Jiang Tian's battle record in the past hour was far more than what Jeffrey had achieved in a year with the New Myth Alliance. There were also the 4 Divine Lords of the Beihan sect. They were all Han Ming Zongzi's right-hand men, guardian elders. They controlled Dharma laws and even the fragments of the Grand Tao. Their Dharma power was extremely powerful and they dominated the world. They showed their divinity in front of people and traveled across the universe. In the eyes of the common people, they were omnipotent gods. The common people no longer worshipped them as idols, but as believers in the face of the gods and deities. They could only bow down and worship them. However, no one had expected that Jiang Tian had actually already killed their elemental masters. Divine Lords. He's a Divine Lord. He's the first soul formation Divine Lord on Earth, and he's still the most powerful person on Earth. That's right, a genius is still a genius, and your father is still your father. What has he been through in the past few years? How did he become so powerful? Has he conquered the ruins of deity? Everyone exclaimed and looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a demon god. After 5 years of fighting, I didn't disappoint you. The ruins of deity have been conquered and I'm now the lord of the ruins of deity. When asked by the reporters, Jiang Tian said calmly. That's great. Well done. From now on, I'm Kong Taichu's die-hard fan again. After a moment of silence, the world burst into an uproar. This was especially so for Jiang Tian's old friends, such as Shen Lu and his wife, Iris, Lu Yiting and the others. They were so excited that they jumped up from their chairs, waved their fists, and cheered. The world only knows that the recovery of spiritual aura is an everlasting change. Endless blessings are obtained and the ultimate sublimation. But they don't understand that the greatest wealth in the world is the wealth of war. Senior Absolute beginnings swept through the ruins of immortality, so how could his gains be little? Chao Jinjia was enlightened and she sighed. At this time, even Chao Shixiang, who had fallen asleep, was awakened. After learning about the situation, he immediately burst into tears and said with a trembling voice, "Heaven has not left Earth behind. The Lord of the Earth's mythological alliance is finally back. After years of turmoil and humiliation, we can finally avenge ourselves." You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.